right, guys, welcome to today's Local Yokels podcast. I'm your host, Neil Colley. I want to bring, our whole goal here is to bring local businesses, spotlight them in our community, what they're doing, people, nonprofits, charities, you name it. We're just going to try to do deep dives on their journeys, where they've been, where they're coming from, what they're trying to do for the community to impact it. And, of course, if you haven't found one already, I implore you to try to find something to get involved with, try to help the local people, maybe your neighbors, school children, whatever it may be. So, again, thank you for joining us today. And I want to first of all have a shout out for our main sponsor, Roofworks, Randy and Kay Hendrickson over there. That Roofworks, midsouth.com. Telephone number is 901-500-7235. And that'll probably be Josh answers that. He's the guy that runs the whole show over there. So anyway, and then final thing I want to kind of jump on to real quick before we get into our special guest today, Feed My Lambs. That is the big program I like to sponsor on my show. It means a lot to me. We're in Walls, Mississippi. It's where we feed kids on the weekends, backpack, security, food backpack. We put food in their backpack for security on the weekends to kind of help through their daily lives. And I would like for you guys, if you want to donate or contribute to that or help them out in some way, it's minormemorial.org/lambs. And their telephone number is 662-781-1333. All right, we got that out of the way. Without further ado, my special guest today, and first and foremost, before I do anything, I'm going to say my good friend, Bruno Lawler, a.k.a. Downtown Bruno, a.k.a. Harvey Whippleman, a.k.a. Alderman Lawler. Welcome, Bruno.
Well, thank you. And don't forget, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Class of 2021, Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh, were you really? Yeah. I didn't even know that.
Class of 2021.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's probably a lot I don't know about the wrestling side of it because, I'm not a wrestling podcast. And there's a lot of them out there, and I want to thank you for doing this one. And you did this just because you are my friend, and I appreciate that. So,
and I can tell you what, Feed the Lambs, and a lot of people may not know this, but my good friend Neil, his mother, Nancy, who unfortunately left us recently.
Yep.
She was a big spearhead of that.
Yeah,
it's a great organization. It helps young people that may need a boost in Walls, Mississippi area, DeSoto County, western part of DeSoto County area. And it's a wonderful...
the Delta.
Yeah, well, over in the whole Delta, right?
Yeah, that's the Delta.
And by God... they do y'all do barbecue once or twice a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell y'all, it's some of the best barbecue I ever had in my life. And believe me, I've had a whole lot.
And I get the meats from Primo's here in Hernando's, by the way. Here in Hernando, Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Hernando, the county seat, DeSoto County. Y'all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I always try to remind people if they see it and they're not aware that we are doing it local. I think sometimes, Bruno, that we just got this local draw and I'm hoping that's the case because that's really where I'm trying to focus. But maybe somebody out of state hears it and they're thinking, DeSoto where? Texas, Florida. I mean, there are some counties out there besides DeSoto County, Mississippi. Yeah. So, but we are in Mississippi. Myself and Bruno are both from Walls. And,
correct.
And the big town, I don't actually live in a town, I live in the Walls community, but you live in the big town of Walls, and that's how you're the alderman down there.
Yeah, Downtown Bruno lives in downtown Walls.
That's right.
Walking distance to the post office.
What was it on the front of your house you got up there?
It says, we shoot to kill.
Yeah, but the other one up on top.
Oh, the Beverly Hills Gin.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You live in an old cotton gin that
yes.
you transformed into your home, which is really cool. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so it fits you, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it.
It fits you. So,
well, it's funny. I was born in West Virginia, but I've been in DeSoto County, Mississippi for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
So let's say I went from being a hillbilly to a Delta Duster.
Delta Duster. Yeah. There you go. That's a good one. Not just a redneck, just a Delta Duster.
No, I ain't no redneck because I don't chew tobacco. And
yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
I wear shoes.
That's true. And you wear shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, and no overalls. That's a whole other gimmick.
That's right. And I eat chicken wings and drink beer. That's my only vices.
Yeah, that's right. And that's great, man. Glad to have you with us today. And you eat all the wings and drink all the beer you want. So,
well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So as we get started, we all know Bruno from his days in the Mid-South Wrestling, and we're going to get to all that good stuff, the wrestling talk. But one of the things that Bruno don't really get to talk about himself, his origin story, if you will. And one of the things I want to get into is from where he started to where he's gotten to now. We're going to gloss through it as quickly as we can because we know we're going to be here all night because there's lots of stories. But just from the sense of a lot of people probably don't know that you were born in West Virginia. So you can start from there and tell us your story and how you made it to Walls and therefore,
Well, we had my uncle and my grandmother were from DeSoto County. Well, my uncle's from Shelby County.
Okay.
From Memphis. Grandmother was in Hernando, actually, where we're sitting now.
Yeah.
Probably very close to where we're sitting. It ain't there no more. It was 255 Magnolia Drive,
right,
which is now McInville.
Okay.
So I think they knocked down the old high school to build this area.
Okay.
So my grandmother lived right there. One of my grandmothers.
It could be close. Yeah, we're right here in that area. So
yes. Yeah. So long story short, though, there was a wrestling organization called Mid-Continental Wrestling, based out of Jamestown, Kentucky.
Okay.
That was a smaller. It was a territory, but it wasn't so much a territory, but an organization. It was based out of Jamestown, Kentucky. A great guy, he's no longer with us, named Dale Mann, was the promoter, booker, and main eventer there.
Right.
He was running a wrestling event in West Virginia at a fair. And a friend of mine had to work at the fair doing something on the midway or putting up rides or so. I don't remember what it was. It's almost 50 years ago. But anyway, he wanted to know that I want to ride over to the fair with him. Well, I was poor, broke. And
you're in West Virginia at
West
this time.
Virginia.
Yeah, I got you.
And I didn't have nothing else to do. And okay, I'll go, yeah. So there was wrestling at that fair under a tent. So I didn't have no money to ride no rides or, buy nothing. I was just walking around. I said, I'm going to go watch the wrestling. And the guy at the front of the tent said, well, this isn't free. It's not part of the admission. You have to pay whatever it was back then, $3 or something to go. I didn't have $3.
Right. And might as well have been $1 million, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was getting ready to leave, but this one guy that worked there for the Dale Mann said, well, look, he goes, if you stay and help us take down all the chairs and take down the ring and put it on the trailer after the matches, I'll let you come in.
Right.
I said, oh, man, that'd be great. So the friend of mine, his name was Kerry Stegner. I'll never forget it. Kerry Stegner was the guy that was a friend of mine. He got through whatever he had to do. He goes, come on, we got to go. I said, no, I promised these people. He goes, well, look, I have to leave. I'm leaving. He goes, you have to come now. I said, no, I promised these people that I would stay and do this. He goes, well, I'm going. You got to find another way back. I said, okay, because my word was, so that right there, I thought about saying, well, if you got $3 to give this guy to make up for my admission, and that $3 has really made my career. Then I decided not to. So I stayed there, and then Dale Mann and them said, well, we're moving on to South Dakota after this. We're going through Ohio, then off to South Dakota. He goes, you want to come with us, and we'll teach you how to referee, and you can.
At what age was this now?
13 or 14.
13 or 14. Yeah. So, okay. All right, you glossed over some stuff, all right? Okay. So let me just slow you down a little bit. So you're still in West Virginia up to age?
I would come back and forth to DeSoto County.
Okay.
Mom and Daddy lived up there.
Gotcha.
Mom was from Loosedale, Mississippi, South Mississippi.
So your origins are from here, like your family roots are still from this area.
Yeah,
you just
partially, and Daddy's were from up there.
Okay, I got you.
And
but now you left home at 13, as you're talking about. So, I mean, for 1 minute, I'm in West Virginia. We're going to Kentucky. I'm thinking Western Kentucky. We're down there in a wrestling event, and that's how you got started at 7. And then you flash forward to where you're working on the rings, tearing them down, and you're helping them move around. That's where I want to pick back up. So now this is where at 13 you literally get on your own and you leave home.
Yeah.
And you start working in the wrestling business.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up, they brought in Rocky Johnson to do some of those events for the Mid-Continental, Dale Mann's.
Right.
And I met Rocky, and he really liked me.
Okay.
And he was going to Kansas City, which was a major NWA territory at the time.
Yeah.
Bob Geigel was the president of the NWA, and he was the owner of the Central States Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
It was the official name was Heart of America Wrestling, but the territory name for the fans was Central States Wrestling. So I always wanted to be a manager. I thought it would be fun to be a manager. And a couple times on Dale Mann's, they let me manage. I'll tell you a funny story about that, too. But long story short, Bob Geigel, great guy, God bless him, he's no longer with us. I loved him. But he was very old school, like Vern Gagne or whatever, very old school. When I would run around the ring and do stuff and have Rocky Johnson chase me, and Bob Geigel goes, no, I just want you to sit in the chair. And if you have to get involved, get up, do it, and sit back down. Well, that's so boring.
Right.
I wanted to be a manager. I was just learning. Because let me tell you the story before I get back on that. I was still green, back it's an open secret now that our business is entertainment.
Sure.
Okay. Back then, we weren't open with it like we are now, basically. Sure. Which wasn't my idea, but I mean, one guy can't be an army. So anyway, Dale Mann and them let me manage a guy one night up there. It was like in a fair show or something. They did a lot of those outdoor barnstormer things. So I was still like not 100% understanding the business. I was just a guy who was put up the ring. I thought there was nothing to being a manager but yelling at the audience and saying, "Shut up, rednecks," or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So I'm at ringside, and the referee leans over and says, "Okay, when this guy hits the ropes on your side, I want you to trip him." Mm. And I thought, what the F?
Yeah.
I says, this guy's going to beat the crap out of me if I do that. I said, does the referee just not like him? Or is he going to bet on the match? And I said, I don't understand that. So when the guy hit the ropes on my side, I stepped way back. I didn't do it. Well, the guy tripped anyway, which is a green mistake because he was obviously not, a high level
top guy. Yeah.
But he took the bump and, oh my God, Dale Mann said, what F is wrong with you? Why didn't you trip? I said, I was scared too.
Yeah.
I said, the referee, and he goes, come here. And then he says, there's a guy named Guido Mongol back. He goes, he's got a place in Butler, Pennsylvania that trains managers, referees, and wrestlers. He goes, some of these guys are going up there this week to get some work in or whatever, training in. He goes, I want you to go with them. And I went up there, and then Guido smartened me up to the business and explained to me. It's like it takes a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. I'm still working on it, But I finally understood. They explained to me the business. Nobody smartened me up, but then they're going to send me out there to manage without me not knowing.
And at what age is this?
I guess 15.
15? Good Lord.
Yeah. So Guido Tatry,
Yeah.
So anyway, jumping back. Okay. I ended up, Rocky Johnson got me booked in Kansas City. I was out there with Rocky Johnson, Art Barr, Ronnie Etchison, Sonny Myers, just a bunch of old timers. A lot of people that listen don't even remember most of them. But
mid-70s.
Yeah,
territory guys.
Yes. Well, yeah. Of course, it was early 80s by then for me, but still.
Yeah.
Because I started in 79.
Yeah.
So I'm in Kansas City. Like I said, Bob Geigel, great guy, but didn't want me to excel. I knew I could get over it, and Rocky goes, man, I'm going back to Hawaii. My family owns the Polynesian Pacific Wrestling in Honolulu. He says, man, you'd get over like $1 million over there and you can do your own thing. You don't have to just sit in a chair. He wanted me to run around and everything. So Rocky booked me in Hawaii in 83. I'm the world's worst, but it's
probably 81, I'm guessing. At this point, because
somewhere in there,
yeah, probably. Is this before he become back as him and Tony Atlas came back to WWF at the time as championship?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was before or after.
Yeah, it's probably like 82 if you were there. This is your introduction to the family. So if you were like in your mid-teens, it's probably 81 or 82. I'm guessing. Yeah.
So I got over there, and Rocky got me over there.
Yeah.
And the wrestling I grew up looking at mostly was Memphis Wrestling.
Sure.
So that to me, that was the big time.
Yeah,
and still to me, it was the big time.
Well, yeah, it's Lawler and all those guys, yeah.
And I wanted to be in Memphis Wrestling so bad. Well, by God, one day we had the big show at the Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. And lo and behold, who do they bring in to be in main event? Lawler.
Wow. Yeah.
So Lawler had seen me. We had the matches at the NBC Center, Neil Bladesell, Civic Center in Honolulu, Capilano Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And Lawler had watched me manage some other guy. It was like a house show. And he thought I did a good job. So we got to that big event. He was working with a guy named Superfly Tui, babyface. Not Snooka, y'all, but Tui.
Tui, yeah.
But anyway, Lawler says to Rocky Johnson, man, how about let that little guy manage me tonight? And Rocky goes, oh, yeah, sure. If you want, that'd be great. So I managed Lawler, and he loved my work.
Cool.
And he says, man, we're using Jimmy Hart real hot right now in Memphis. He goes, we don't have a spot for you, but
again, I'm going to interrupt you just a minute
okay.
because you've told this story, I'm sure, other times, but let's stop while you're in Hawaii.
Okay.
You get there, and you're probably thinking, what do I do in Hawaii? Like, I don't know anything really much past what I've just learned in Kansas City and stuff like that, but you're now in this Polynesian group. Rocky Johnson's married into this family,
Right.
the Maivias.
Atta Maivia, who's Peter and Leah's daughter.
That's right.
Rocky's wife.
That's right.
Was wonderful. And still
Right.
is my dear friend to this day.
Right.
She took me under her wing.
Right.
Peter was dead by this time. He had passed away.
Okay.
But Leah and a guy named Lars Anderson ran the office.
Okay.
And me and Leah, it was just different. She was different. I mean, on the show Young Rock, they portrayed her pretty accurately.
Right.
Because I did my first heel interview. You Polynesian people are no good, blah, 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 blah. And I heard her telling Lars, we're going to get rid of that guy. We don't want him here. Look how bad he talks about our people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah,
But she took it real. We and her always butted heads.
Sure.
Always.
Sure.
But Atta, her daughter, who I love very much.
That's Rock's mother.
Yes. Treating me like goats. I'll talk to mother.
Right.
I'll explain.
So at this time, this is where I want to say, the reason why I interrupted you is
Yeah,
because
okay.
this is something that they don't talk about a lot, but like The Rock, your first introduction to him was a young boy, maybe 7, 8 years old, right? And so you become kind of like his quote unquote babysitter in a way, if you want to call it that. You're kind of like keeping your eye on him.
Yeah, because I worked in the office
You're right,
all day.
Right.
And, because they didn't have matches every night over there. So
Sure.
my job was to work in the office.
Sure.
Answer the phone and do odds and ends things and run errands and whatnot.
And clearly babysit their son. Yeah, at that point in time.
And Atta's, Leah's cancer dog named Francine, the cancer dog with a big, nasty, awful cyst or tumor. It was absolutely disgusting. I had to babysit that nasty.
Oh, my
I remember
gosh.
Lars Anderson said, it's unhealthy for humans and inhumane to the animal. And it was like, it was awful. And that was portrayed on Young Rock, too.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Young Rock, they put a lot of comedy and stuff in it, but in reality, everything was based on truth, and that was true.
Right.
That was every single story that was on there is based on truth.
Sure.
But some of it was changed to, I guess, protect the innocent.
Sure, I'm sure.
Or
Yeah,
to make it
absolutely.
more entertaining to the
Could
people.
have been.
But
It could have been a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So going forward from there, how much time did you spend over there, you think?
9 months.
9 months.
Give
So
or take.
you and him got this bond. His dad and you, of course, got this bond.
Very good. Me and Rocky. Jesus
Right.
Christ, I love him.
And he's probably getting at the peak of his career at this time. Like he's getting ready to take off a little bit.
Right.
Because he's getting ready to go back to the WWF, whatever at that time. And this is just my recollection as a young guy, like 8 or 10 years old, watching wrestling and seeing him and Tony Atlas show up on as they won the championship tag team belts, and they were there for a while, and they were amazing. And I knew Atlas from his days with NWA out of Atlanta.
Yeah, him and Tommy Rich were a tag team.
TNT.
Tommy and Tony,
That's right.
TNT,
That's right.
yeah.
And Tony Atlas was the man, son. Like nobody had ever seen anybody built like that, And of course, I didn't know that much about Rocky Johnson, but I just remember getting really being a fan of his because of his association with Tony Atlas. They become a power team.
Right.
But however, so you spend that 9 months over there. Now you can pick up from there. I didn't want us to glance over your relationship and what you really did while you were there and how it developed you into these relationships to kind of.
Yeah, I learned a lot because they had every so often they'd have the big show, like every other month. Big event, not the big show. You probably wasn't even born yet, but you know what I'm just clarifying.
Yeah.
The big event.
Yeah.
That's where I met Jimmy Snuka, who was a great guy to me. Super guy. And, of course, I already knew Rocky. And then I worked with Lars Anderson, but then that's when I developed my friendship, my association with Lawler at that time.
Right. From those shows. Yes.
So then when Jimmy Hart left Memphis to go to WWF, which at the time was F, that's when I, long story short, I could go in, I had to call, make phone calls, blah, 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 whatever. I got booked in Memphis, and I took off from there.
Sure.
I owe it all. There's a lot of people that I owe what success I've had. To me, it's successful. I've made a living at this. In April, it'll be 46 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you've been the longest tenured WWE person.
Yes.
Personnel, because you never left.
Never left.
Yeah.
Never would. I'm too loyal.
Not saying you've been there's other guys that came and went probably longer.
Yeah.
Obviously, but you stayed there, never left.
Yes, because that's where my loyalty is. And I've had a lot of people help me over the years that I owe a lot to.
Sure.
But what I appreciate when I tell Lawler that, man, I owe you my career. I owe you my, and he says, Bruno, he goes, I just gave you the football.
Yeah.
You know, you had to run with it.
Sure.
He goes, if you sucked, you know, you wouldn't have went further.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked my ass off. I set up the ring. I put out posters. I put up chairs.
And traveled.
Constantly. You know, here's the whole thing. I managed and refereed for free.
Yeah.
I get paid for traveling.
Right.
That's what I was, because, you know.
To be with the guy that's kind of you're helping develop him. Like for instance, we were talking about this in our personal lives one time, and I was talking, and this is before I knew you were Bruno, the referee wrestler guy.
Right,
I just knew you as Bruno. And then it come up in conversation that you were that, and I was like, Bruno, I used to just, like, I knew who Sid Vicious was, of course, Psycho Sid, whatever, you know, like I knew him from the area, because who could forget him, you know, but I remember when he debuted. But I didn't know it was him at the time because his character was masked over with a hockey mask, Lord Humongous.
Right.
And over in Continental Wrestling.
Right.
Because I grew up on the Alabama-Georgia line. Those territories crossed over, but I got the fun time of seeing him debut. And then you're like, hey, I was there that day when he debuted on that show. And I'm like, get out of here, you know?
Yeah.
So
our first, we debuted in, the first TV was in Montgomery, Alabama, at the Civic Center. And the very next day was a house show or spot show at the Gadsden Civic Center.
And that's where I grew up, was just outside of Gadsden.
Yeah, I know Gadsden very well. But yeah, so getting back to that progression, I had obviously Dale Mann helped me.
Yes.
Guido Tatry helped me, you know, showed me the business. Then Rocky Johnson, who got me booked in a major territory.
Yes. 2,
actually, Kansas City and Hawaii.
Right.
Then Lawler brought me to Memphis, and I went from there.
Yeah.
And man, for a while in Memphis, I was harder than a $2 pistol, man.
Yeah.
And everywhere I went, all I heard was, it's like Mama says, it bees that way.
Because that's
mine.
That's yours.
Yeah. Which I wholeheartedly admit I stole from a dear friend of mine, Iceman Parsons. And I've heard people like, they say never read the comments.
Yeah.
But I say, Bruno stole that from Iceman. But I've seen the opposite. Iceman stole it from Bruno.
Yeah,
no, he didn't.
Yeah.
What it was, back we were discussing before we went on the air with our good friend Derrick, our great technical engineer.
Producer here at SRP Studios.
When it was territory days, what went on in the Dallas territory, nobody's seen in Memphis.
That's right.
So I can steal anybody else's gimmick.
Sure, because you never thought it was going to be global like it was or international. You just really thought you were doing your thing. Much how the Ric Flairs of the world might have stole his gimmick from some other guy, you know, and this, that, and the other from a territory, you know. So that's it probably happened a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
So I stole that, but I made a living saying it's like Mama says, it bees that way sometime.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And when they turned me babyface, good guy in the Memphis territory, I'll never forget it till the day I die. It brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
I was in the ring. I was a good guy. I said, it's like Mama says, before I could finish the entire Mid-South Coliseum finished it for me. That meant that was getting over.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is mid-'80s.
Yes.
Yeah. So when did you make the leap from Mid-South to WWFE, as you would?
Okay, well, let me tell you, there was a lot of stops in between now.
Was there?
And let me clarify it a little bit. I know we call our area here the Mid-South, but for the wrestling fan, Mid-South was actually Bill Watts' territory, which was South Mississippi, Louisiana, that way. So we always refer to Memphis wrestling as Memphis wrestling.
Sure.
There were several stops. I left Memphis for a while in '87 and went back to Kansas City for a while. Then I left Kansas City and I went from there to Alabama. Again, my second run in Continental.
Yeah.
Then I came back to Memphis again. Then I left Memphis and went to Louisiana.
Right.
Not for the Bill Watts. It was after he had already sold his territory to the Crockett's.
Sure.
Grizzly Smith, who's Jake Roberts' dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Took over the Louisiana territory.
Okay.
And I was down there for, I don't know, 8-9 months. It was me, the Rock and Roll RPMs, Iceman Parsons, Reggie B. Fine, Jerry Stubbs, Dirty White Boy, King Cobra, Sika the Samoan, who I had managed, which is Roman Reigns' dad.
Yeah, right.
So I worked in Louisiana. Then I came back to Memphis. And then it was 89 or 90 when I was working back in Memphis. And Sid had just left WCW and went to WWF.
I remember that.
And he got up there and they said, man, we need it. We're trying to get another good heel manager up here. Do you know anybody? And Sid talked to Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson and J.J. Dillon. They all knew who I was. J.J. I knew personally, but the other ones knew who I was. And they said, well, let's bring him up here for a tryout. So they flew me to Worcester, Massachusetts, or to Boston to drive up to Worcester, Massachusetts, and had my tryout. And this is 35 years ago, I guess now, or 36, 34, whatever. And that's how, so I had Rocky Johnson, Guido Tatry, and not in any particular order. Rocky Johnson, Guido Tatry, Dale Mann, Sid,
Lawler,
all these people that helped me along the way. And of course, at the end, Dwayne more than anybody in the world, and it's just been a wonderful ride, And don't get me wrong, there's been some times when I wake up in the morning loving the wrestling business and go to bed cursing the day. And opposite, me and Hector Guerrero had that conversation one day. It's the only business you can love it and hate it and love it, love to hate it, hate to love it. We don't know what to do with it.
All in the same day.
Yeah, because by and large, most of our people in our profession are good guys.
Sure.
But there's some sorry son of a I don't know if you can cuss on here.
You cuss on here?
There's some sorry son of a bitches too. But that's in every walk of life.
Yeah.
So, for every great guy like Rocky Johnson or Brooklyn Brawler or Vader, that's the piece of...
I've heard that about him.
I didn't mean to include him in the good guys. I meant to say, for every Brooklyn Brawler, Rocky Johnson, and Lawler, there's a Vader.
Yeah, I've heard that about Vader. He was stiff and rough and just a jerk.
And a jerk and a liar and a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Do I wish him dead? No. Am I happy he's dead? No. I'm a Christian man.
Yeah.
But am I going to sit here and say that I lost any sleep? No.
Right.
He was a sorry son of a bitch.
Yeah. I'm glad you're being honest about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Other than that, he was a good guy.
He got over pretty good for a while. So
not with anybody he worked with.
No.
Shawn Michaels kicked him in the head. He didn't want to work with him no more.
I remember that.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you about Vader.
Yeah.
We were in Fresno, California for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
In the old Fresno arena, not that new nice one they built at the university. Old arena. I'll tell you how long ago this was. It's back when they were still doing the 900 numbers. Internet wasn't even a thing yet.
Yeah.
So Jim Ross was in charge of the 900 numbers. They would sit in a room, similar to what we're doing here.
Right.
But it wasn't video, it was just audio. And Jim Ross would interview the different wrestlers and have like a little 3 minutes, and then advertise it on TV. Dial 1-900, WWF, whatever.
Yeah.
And listen to what Downtown Bruno or Harvey Whitman had to say about Giant Gonzalez, whatever.
Yeah.
And the people would call, pay like 99 cents a minute. It was
right.
So anyway, Jim Ross, it wasn't even my job, but Jim Ross said, hey, Bruno, do me a favor. Go get Leon. That's Vader's real name.
Yeah, right.
Go get Leon and ask him to come in here and do a 900 number interview with me. I said, okay, no problem, Jim. I said, Leon, Jim Ross wants you to do a 900 number. I ain't doing no damn 900 number interview. Get the F away from me. I guess there was no money in it for me.
Sure.
He was just acting like a jerk.
Right.
Well, Jim Ross was the booker. He was the highest authority in the whole company besides the McMahons. So I went back to Jim. I said, Jim, and I told him exactly what I just told you, what Vader said. About an hour later, I'm walking through the hallway. Jim Ross and Jerry Briscoe are standing there with Vader. Vader's got his head down, and he goes, Bruno, come here. Leon, tell him what you just told us. Jim, Bruno never even approached me. He lied. He made that whole thing up. And I said, Jim, are you going to believe me or that fat, talentless piece of shit?
Oh, Lordy.
And he looked at me like he's going to hit me. I'm like, come on, I could use the money. And I just looked at Jim Ross and Briscoe and shook my head and walked away.
Oh, my goodness.
And he was just a scumbag liar.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Man, that didn't serve you any purpose, did it?
No.
Yeah.
So he was an asshole.
I think that he had a bad rep. Not a bad rep, deservingly reputation for being difficult, frustrated with others. Wrestlers, stiff, if you will, whatever they call it.
They're stiff. They're snug and they're stiff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the business.
Yeah.
You don't want it to look, and I'm never going to use the F word, but you don't want it to look choreographed or predetermined or whatever.
Sure.
Snug is, you can feel it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt you.
Well, that makes it real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stiff is where it hurts.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If I give you a snug shot, you're going to feel it, and you're going to register it properly and, but if I give you a stiff one, which means hurt you, you're not going to do it like we do because it's going to really hurt. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't serve the business any purpose to to stiff anybody.
Sure, unless it's predetermined to be stiff.
Yeah, and Vader was a bully.
Yeah.
He was a spot picker.
Yeah.
He knew he could get away with stiffing and who he couldn't.
Right.
Some guys, now, I'm going to tell you.
Ron Simmons didn't let him.
No, Ron Simmons is one of my best friends.
And
a great guy.
I think he had I remember a match to where he played real stiff with him. And it was on a live TV show, so Vader couldn't do much other than just take it.
Yeah, you can't mess with Ron Simmons. And I'm going to tell you, another guy, this has nothing to do with Vader, but it's just, I'm going to tell you, in our profession, you know who you don't want to mess with? Scott Steiner.
Really? Oh, yeah, for sure. This guy's a monster.
We were in Murfreesboro, Tennessee one night here when Scott was, a lot of people don't know, his first territory was Memphis territory.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
I was refereeing. Back then, it was this little spot show in like an armory or something in Murfreesboro. The opening match was Scott Steiner against a guy named Gary Young. And then later on that evening, because it was a small card, so they come back in a tag match.
Sure.
It was Scott Steiner, and I don't even remember who his partner was, against Gary Young and Don Bass.
Right.
So in the opening match, I was a referee. Now, bear this in mind too, a lot of times in these armories, the good guys are dressed way on one side of the building, and the bad guys on the other side.
Purposefully.
We're not in the same dress room.
Yeah, it was still the business at that time. Yeah, you didn't.
It wasn't like a Coliseum where it was,
Sure.
So anyway, I was the referee, so my job was to carry messages and whatever back and forth.
Yeah.
So Scott was very green, admittedly, at that time. So he did something in the match with Gary Young that Gary didn't like or whatever. And so I went back in the dressing room and knowing Gary Young had to come back in a tag match with Don Bass against Scott and somebody. And Gary Young says, "Go back there and tell Scott Steiner he better learn how to work." Okay. And I went over there and I said, "You want me to tell you what Gary said?" And I told him. And he goes, "Well, you can just tell him he needs to learn how to shoot." Which, if people don't know, shoot means when you forget that it's predetermined and you grab your best hold.
Sure.
So we got in that match. Scott Steiner grabbed Gary Young and hooked him in a sugar hold, which is one of the roughest holds you can get. Then he got him a cross-faced chicken wing, and Gary Young's like tapping out and reaching for the ropes. And I says, "Gary, that ain't gonna work. This is a shoot, man." And then he was turning green and purple and all colors I'd never seen. I finally said, "Scott, let him go. You're gonna kill him." Yeah. So we finally let him go, and they got to working. Yeah. So we got in the back, and Gary Young starts cussing me out. "Why'd you tell him that?" I said, "Because you told me to."
You told me to.
Yeah. So Gary Young thought he was going to mess with me after that. Yeah. So Akio Sato, Japanese wrestler, great guy, a dear friend of mine.
Sure.
Gary Young says, "Okay, I'm going to get Bruno for this. I'm going to get Bruno for this." He was going to put Ben Gale in my underwear while I was in the shower. Sato goes, "Mess with Bruno." Yeah. He goes, "You mess with Bruno, you mess with me. Mess with Bruno." Yeah. And he put him in his place. Yeah. Because, he was wrong. Yeah. 100% wrong. Yeah. I've seen a lot of different. See, nowadays it's all these young guys, athletic, choreographed. Oh, yeah. It was different back in our day.
Them guys are big monsters back then.
I seen Tojo Yamamoto almost kill a guy with his kendo stick.
Oh, my goodness.
Almost kill him. Those kendo sticks, they made that noise. Whop. Yeah. Now, it would sting you. Yeah. But see, if you loosened up the little, I don't know what you call them, but you could turn these little things on it to make it loose, or you could turn them the other way and make it like a baseball bat.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So we were at Channel 5 TV one morning, and a job boy, they were telling him, "Okay, when you roll out on the floor, Tojo's going to hit you with a stick." And Tojo goes, "Okay, yeah, I take care of you. Don't worry." The kid goes, "Oh, no, you don't have to worry. You're not going to be able to hurt me." Tojo goes, "Oh, okay, me no hurt. Okay." He tightened it like a baseball bat. He was beating that guy. He had more stripes on him than a zebra. And he was finally knocked out. Yeah. And he kept hitting him. So Eddie Marlin says to Sato, who was in the back, because Tojo was managing somebody else that match, he said, "Sato, go out there and stop him. He's going to kill him." Yeah. So Sato went out there, and I guess he said it to him in Japanese. "Tojo, stop, you're going to kill him. I think he's dead." Tojo goes, "Then he no feel it. Hold him up. I keep hitting him." That's how our business was.
That's great, man. You need to take a break. Pee or anything?
No, I'm just fine.
All right, cool.
And leave that on the air, too. That's funny.
Oh, hey, yeah. Whatever, man.
And if I have to take a break because I'm drinking beer.
I just thought you might need to you've had a few, so I just thought maybe.
This is, my God, I could drink 8 of these and drive a school bus.
Let's don't.
Don't worry.
So, as those great stories go, you hit some names there that was really intriguing. Obviously we know about Sid being your kind of like your main first guy that you kind of like broke into the business with a little bit, I guess, on the road with him. Broke him in is what I'm saying.
Right.
Some of the others you want to name that, like from Sid on, like what was some of the bigger names that kind of from the Memphis territory that we might know as, just not your diehard guys, kind of like me. I'm not a diehard wrestling fan, but I do know some history of it. I would watch it when I could, probably more intently when I was a young guy, a youngster.
Right.
But as we get older, time doesn't allow us to be there when they're watching it all, when it's going on TV. And so just kind of run through some of those and what kind of those guys, what they were like to work with.
Okay, a lot of people from around here that were older, my age or older, would remember a guy named Phil Hickerson.
Right.
Who was, I managed, we traveled together for a long time here in Memphis. And great guy. Great guy, tough guy.
Yeah.
So, two things with Phil. One was he was the big tough guy. One where I was the little tough guy.
Sure.
I'll tell you what happened. He wrestled a guy named Chuck Casey on TV.
Yeah.
And, jobbed him out, beat him. Phil was the Southern Heavyweight Champion, which was a big deal here at the time.
Yeah.
This is, going on 40 years ago, but still.
Yeah.
So that was on TV, on TV5. We get to the Coliseum Monday night for the Monday night event, and there was a bunch of girls hanging around at the back fence like they always did. Not just girls, guys too, wanting autographs or yell at the heels, whatever. And these girls said, "We know Chuck Casey. We seen you beat him up on TV Saturday morning." And Phil goes, "That's right, I sure did." And I said, "Well, he told us that he let you do it because you're old." And they said, "We know you could beat up Phil Hickerson, but don't beat him up." And Phil, "Oh, really?" He said that. Mm-hmm. Okay. We got into the Coliseum that night when that guy Chuck Casey showed up.
Yeah.
Tojo was there, and we told him the story too. Tojo goes, "Okay, you get him in my dressing room." Tojo used to dress in a small little room by himself.
Right.
He had a little dog called Toji, that little bitty dog, and he'd sit there and smoke cigars.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Tojo took a liking to me. He said, "You dress with me from now on." So I would dress with him.
Sure.
So he goes, "Get Chuck Casey, bring him in here." I said, "Chuck, Tojo wants to see you." He got in that little room. Tojo shut the door, whopped him with that stick. Phil Hickerson was standing back there, had a chain around his fist, beat the shit out of the guy, put his head in the toilet.
Oh, my
goodness. Said, "Bruno, flush the toilet." He wanted me to. I said, "No, I can't. I just didn't have it in me."
Yeah.
And by the time he goes, "Flush it," by the time the guy broke away and ran blood everywhere, all wet.
Oh, my God.
And nobody ever seen him again.
Wow.
So, because that's how the business was back then.
Right.
Okay. Now, how about this one? There was Nashville was one of our main towns.
Sure.
We run Nashville 3 Saturday nights out of the month. Always had a great house. So there was a guy that Bill Dundee trained, called himself Nature's Best. Hickerson was in the main event that night with Jeff Jarrett, but this was this kid's first match ever.
Right.
So whoever he was supposed to work with didn't show up, or there was a travel issue or something. So Jerry Jarrett said, "Phil, this is a brand new guy that Dundee trained. How about working with him in the opening match? Give the guy a little something and have Bruno beat him at the end." Me and Phil's finish was always, no matter who it was.
So you're a wrestler in this?
No, I was a manager at ringside.
He was a manager at ringside,
But the finish was always, I would take my loaded boot off.
Yeah.
And I'd hit it against the thing. And who it was, I'd whack the person and knock them out with the boot.
Oh, wow.
That was the finish. We got over with that. People wanted to kill me.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, long story short, this is the guy's first match. He should have been honored to work with the champion, and also to have the Weasley manager cause him to lose.
Right.
That should have been an honor.
Yeah.
I hit him with the boot. Well, Hickerson had the referee. The kid goes, "This is my hometown. My family's here."
So you know so.
So he grabbed me by the... So when I'd hit a guy with the boot, what I would do is a cowboy boot.
Yeah.
You would have the part that goes up your leg. I could hit an infant with it and not hurt him, but the heel of it or whatever would hurt you. So when I was hitting people with it, at the very last second, I'd let go and just hit him with the leg part. It didn't hurt him. This guy wouldn't. I turned around and I whopped him with the heel of the cowboy boot in his ear as hard as I could. Blood came spurting out, looked like a balloon.
Oh, no.
And he was just completely knocked out. I couldn't even bring him into the ring because you can't pick up dead weight.
No.
So we got counted out. Jerry Jarrett was furious. He came across Nashville, we dressed separate too. He came across, that kid's green as a gourd. That was his first match. Why would you do that? How could you do that to him? How long you been in the business now, Bruno? And at that time, it was like 8 years or something.
Yeah.
I says, Jerry, we've beat Lawler with that boot. We've beat Rocky Johnson with that boot. And I named up all these names. I says, matter of fact, we beat your son with that boot. And then Jerry Jarrett spit his tobacco and he goes, yeah, I guess you did the right thing.
I guess you did the right thing.
Dundee was furious because this guy he trained. But I was protecting our gimmick and the business.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say I'm some big tough guy, but I was doing what I felt like I had to do.
Sure. Yeah, it was your job to kind of, I guess, keep the gimmick going.
Yeah.
And keep the storyline to the true line it's supposed to be.
Right, because at the end of the whole program, they call it a storyline now, but in our day it was called a program.
Yeah.
They were going to end up taking the boot away from me and knocking Hickerson out with it.
Right.
And whoever, I don't remember who he dropped the belt to, but whoever it was, that was the build-up.
Sure.
That would have killed the build-up.
So in these territories, besides like Sid and that guy you was just talking about, who were some of the others? Like, did you have a good run with managing?
The Rock and Roll RPMs,
which
was Mike
awesome.
Davis and Tommy Lane.
Yep.
Great guys. But when Mike Davis died, it broke my heart because we traveled together quite a bit. Mm-hmm. We were in Louisiana together even.
Sure.
And Alabama and Memphis.
Right.
When he retired from the business, he moved to Dallas. And he would still come over to the, what was the name of that arena in Dallas? It's not there anymore. Reunion Arena. Yeah. He would come over there and visit, and, he was welcome with open arms. He was an old-time, wrestler. And I used to always look forward to seeing him.
Yeah.
And then he passed away on Christmas at 48 years old.
Wow.
I mean, this is 25 years, but I'm saying
but really young, Yeah,
he had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a drug user or nothing like that.
Right.
It was just, I don't know.
Natural, I guess. Maybe a lot of strain in his life over that.
Yeah. But, he I loved the Rock and Roll RPMs. I still talk to Tommy Lane occasionally.
Sure.
There was another guy named Tony Falk, Boy Tony. We did the gimmick. Lawler came up with it. It was great. If you remember back in the 80s, the Culture Club, Boy George.
I do remember that, yeah.
So they had Tony Falk, who was always known as a job boy and underneath guy. I brought him out as Boy Tony.
Oh.
He had the lipstick and the makeup and dance around. Boy Tony. He'd come out to the ring to Karma Chameleon, and we got over really good together. Yeah. Really good. I loved him. And you're talking about just guys from the Memphis time.
Well, not just that. Just as you gradually progress in your career, like, I guess the stages, we know the big names, obviously, but some of the guys that got you, obviously each one of them, you owe a little bit of something too that they did get over pretty good and it helped you and you helped them, with everything. It kept moving you in a direction of where eventually Sid put you in place to get the call up to the big show.
Right.
So that's what I was talking about. Some of the guys locally that might have got called with you later on that came up from this territory,
The tag team of Well Done, they're both dead now too, God bless them. But Steve Dahl and Rex King were in Memphis. They were the Southern Rockers.
Yeah.
But when they went to WWF, they were Well Done. I had managed them.
Okay.
Good guys. They never got the championship. Never got to the level.
Just mid-carders.
Mid-carders.
But at the show still,
Yeah, exactly. Good guys. Good workers. They both died very young and very tragically. That was a shame. But I was. I managed them. They got up there. I knew Curtis Hughes from the Kansas City territory, Mr. Hughes. I'm on signings with him all the time.
Sure.
We're the ones that stole the Undertaker's urn and had that big angle.
I remember that.
95, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'd see him on a regular basis, and great guy. He had some, let's just say, personal demons at the time that cost us both a lot of money.
Oh, wow.
Took us out of main events.
Right.
But we've discussed it. We're best friends again, and just you can't go back and
change it.
No,
so that's what's happened.
He realizes he cost himself a lot of money.
Yeah,
because we would have been main event with Undertaker.
Wow, that'd have been
amazing.
Instead,
I ended up managing Quang in another exciting match, opening match with Bob Sparkplug Holly or whatever. But and I'm gonna tell you. There's a lot of really, we talked about pricks like Vader. But there's a lot of guys in our business. Some of the toughest guys are the nicest ones, like Haku was.
They unanimously. I mean, just unanimous across the board. Everybody says that name, toughest guy in the business. Period. Like legitimate tough guy. Yeah. But the nicest man in the world.
What a nice guy.
But just don't make him mad.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like when I seen him at a convention not too long ago.
Yeah.
he was there. He didn't see me walk up. I said, sit down, shut up, and just speak when you're spoken to. And he goes, yes, sir, I'm sorry. Because he was my friend. We're joking around.
Now, is he part of the relationship with Samoans and stuff?
I think so. I think they're all
because it's such a small community in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And he's a great guy. So is Barbarian.
Yeah.
Who is Sione Valaha. I think I'm saying it properly.
Man, I don't know, but I know that they all were just amazing wrestlers, characters, the Wild Samoans.
Now I managed Sika. Who was Roman Reigns' dad. I managed him in the Louisiana territory. Right. You talk about a tough son of a gun.
Another tough one. Big guy.
Yeah. Now, very religious. Okay. And if you noticed, Alpha and Sika, God bless Uncle Alpha, who just left us a few months ago. Yeah. But if you notice, every time before they'd wrestle, they'd do the sign of the cross.
Yeah.
Up, down, like I do it. I'm Catholic.
Sure.
But they did it like the Pope would do it, right? In the ring to each other.
Yeah.
We were in Montgomery, Alabama, and a guy named Nathan Dixon was going to be Sika's opponent. I'm managing Sika. So Sika did the sign of the cross. This guy did it to make fun of him and went like this or something right after. Sika says, now he see death.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, uh-oh. Sika ran across the ring and I thought he was going to kill him. Yeah. He had his finger in his eye. He was going to rip his eye out. They sent the dressing room out. Lou Fabiano, who was a great guy, came running out.
So this was not predetermined.
Oh, no.
He just mad and just went to
he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And Ronnie West came out, who was a referee, but he's also one of the promoters and bookers or something.
Sure.
He said, he goes, get the F out of here. Just get the F out of here.
Yeah.
He goes, don't go to the dressing room. Just get out of here. Yeah. He said the guy was hiding across the street. And they had to bring his bags and stuff to him.
Oh, my
Sika
goodness.
was going to kill him. You don't make fun of his religion.
Well, yeah, of course not.
And that was just, no, it was just a job guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't even in a position. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
And that was just funny. I thought he was going to kill him. There's some tough guys you just don't want to mess with.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. They're legitimately tough. I think that you hear stories about some of the guys backroom, I guess behind the curtain experience. You've probably seen a lot of that, through the years. So.
I was there in the Hartford Civic Center in Connecticut when Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels got in the fist fight.
Oh, Lordy.
I was in the room.
Yeah.
It ain't like somebody told me about it. I was in the room.
Right.
It didn't go long. Lawler and Brooklyn Brawler and somebody else, I forget, broke it up quick.
Right.
But I was in the room.
Right.
So neither one of them had a clear advantage. It was too quick.
Right. It just happened fast. Yeah. And they're supposed to be great friends, and it turned into probably rivals. They're trying to get to the highest part of the card.
Right.
It's a very competitive business as much as the push, So the fact that you talked about Roman Reigns, I don't watch it as much these days about the current stuff, but that guy's been in there for a while at the top.
Super guy. I've known him for forever. He's a super
Well, you probably know him as a little boy. Yeah.
I probably did. Now, here's the truth. No kidding. There were so many little Samoan kids.
Yeah.
I don't know which
There was a bunch of them, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because now his cousins are big stars and everything in there. So they was probably all around you back then.
And Rikishi's sons, the Usos, two of the nicest, most respectable young guys I ever met in my life.
It's amazing. Really.
And Rikishi's a great guy. I've been friends with him for years.
Yeah.
And Yokozuna, who was Rodney Anawa, super guy.
Were they brothers? Or cousins?
I think cousins. I don't want to say for sure. I think cousins.
Yeah. The Yokozuna, man, he went too soon as well.
Yeah, super guy. He's in Louisiana. He's another one that was in Louisiana with me at the time.
Yeah.
And around here, too, we were naming guys. I was very close and still am with the Gilbert family. Doug Gilbert.
Hot shot Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah, hot stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Hot stuff, that's right.
His move was the hot shot.
That's right, yeah.
And then Tommy Gilbert, the dad.
Yeah.
Tommy Rich is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert. I didn't go to Tommy's funeral. I was out of town or something, but my heart was there.
Sure.
I was at Peggy, Doug and Eddie's mother. I went to her funeral and Eddie's.
Yeah.
Me and Doug are so close to this day.
So you managed any of those guys at all?
I managed Doug and Eddie, not like constantly, but
here and there. And when they needed somebody, you were there.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
If they were at a big show and their manager didn't show up with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes, and I always got along. I'm very good friends with the Gilbert
family.
So
when you left this territory and went to the WWF at the time, I think who was your first? Was Sid your first guy up there?
No. It was my third.
Okay.
My first was a guy named Big Bully Busnick, who's no longer living.
Right.
A good guy and everything, but he just wasn't.
Top talent.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they put me with Warlord, which is pretty good.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I remember him, man. Yeah. He was awesome. Yeah.
Then after him, it was Sid.
That was a monster of a man, Warlord.
Oh, yeah, super guy. I see him at some of these reunions.
Yeah. He's still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Sid. Then after Sid was Kamala.
Yeah.
After Kamala
Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody, I mean, I think most wrestling enthusiasts would know that about Kamala being from this area, but if people are listening don't know that, Kamala was maybe one of the biggest stars besides Sid and Lawler out of this area. And it was, because he didn't have a speaking role and do shots, he kind of got, I mean, just the character itself was huge, right?
Right.
So, but he didn't have communication over the mic. It was just always something gruff and rough.
Right.
And, so you tend to put him just as a character, a face, whereas Sid and him, dynamic, crazy talk, whatever, same thing with Lawler. They had just good mouth on him. Sid probably struggled at times with his communication, but he was still like over the top as far as like his look and his grand.
Right.
Kamala was cartoonish in a way, I guess it's a sense like, but he's from this area. He's from San Antonio.
Oklahoma, Tate County, which is just outside of San Antonio.
Oklahoma. Yeah. And he was huge, man, for quite a long time in WWE.
Yeah, a good run with him.
Yeah.
We had the main event program on the B-Towns with Ultimate Warrior. Because back then, a lot of people might not know this, WWE ran, or F at the time, but whatever, 3 shows a night.
Yeah.
A, B, and C. Hogan was the main event in the A-Town. Savage was the main event in the B-Town. And Warrior was the main event in the C-Town.
Right.
So it was Hogan working with whoever he was working with.
Sure.
And then Savage working with probably Flair, I think, at the time. And then Warrior and Kamala win the C-Town.
So then, like on Saturday night's main event, they'd get them all together.
Right.
At that time, all 3 superstars would show up, and then they'd have some kind of angle, typically with one another. At that time. So it's kind of amazing the storylines that they create. So, but I didn't know that. I didn't know about the ABC shows.
Yeah, we had 3 house shows a night.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over the country, just in different places.
Oh, the travel was brutal. Sometimes we'd have double shots during the day.
Oh, my
We'd have
goodness.
a 2:00 show on like a Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
And have to be somewhere else that night. Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah, just flying and driving everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did Giant Gonzalez come into play?
94.
Okay. So you'd been there a little bit, probably after your Kamala run.
Yeah, he was right after the Kamala run. That's correct.
That's
I had to think, yeah.
And he was so definitely cartoonish because they even made him wear like a cartoonish suit at the time, But you and I were talking before in our personal lives. We discussed some of this stuff sometimes, and you're like, he was a legitimate 8 foot tall with his boots on.
With his boots on, yeah. And without the boots, he was probably 7'9" or something like that. I mean, he's legit. There's no. The dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. And I was doing a signing in Florence, Alabama.
Yeah.
And some guy walked up to the table, and they always ask questions. That's fine. This guy goes, how did Gonzalez wrestle with them stilts on? I mean, before I could say anything, Rodney Grimes, the guy that brought me there for the convention, he said, what the hell's wrong with you? I mean, that was maybe the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life.
He was probably the legitimate most tall, probably the tallest guy in the business ever, right?
I would say you're correct.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Andre, they said, was 7'4".
Yeah, but I think he was billed that. I'm not sure he was that tall, but
I'm not sure. I never met him.
Yeah, I didn't. It's funny you say that. Him and, man, I want to say it was Tommy Rich. It was like in 82 or 83. I was at the airport in Atlanta, and I was getting on a plane to go see my dad in Denver. And they were walking through, and they were there. So I got to see him, like from me to you. But like Tommy Rich turned around and shook our hand. And he, they didn't say nothing. They were just like in a brisk walk. So they were just kind of being nice and shook our hand. So that was nice enough. But yeah, he was a monster. Yeah. And,
but I'm going to see Tommy Saturday night in Wynn, Arkansas. Of course, by the time this airs, it's probably already happened. But this week, I'm going to see Tommy Rich. We're having a reunion deal over there. Me and him and Doug Gilbert will be there.
Cool.
So,
Cool, man. That's awesome. So Giant, you managed him for quite a while. He had pretty good success. Like he came over. I mean, I just remember his suit being very outlandish, because he probably wasn't built like that for sure, but just a real tall guy.
Well, that's why they gave him the suit.
Yeah, basketball player. I mean, not everybody's built like the Big Show when he first got into business.
Right.
Like there's very few men. I mean, I would say he's probably one of the phenomenons of the, ever. Like even beyond Andre the Giant. Big Show doesn't get the credit. I mean, he was a legitimate big man, a giant of a man. So
I got along with him.
Yeah. So, but like just from a talent standpoint, just when he first got into WCW, man, it was like super athletic, man. He was doing drop kicks, and stuff like that. Like it kind of like when Taker got in there and was doing high rope walks and stuff. That's another thing. You're just amazed these big guys can pull these things off. So it's obvious when you see a giant Gonzalez, he's not doing those things. He's just a little bit too tall, too lean.
And he wasn't very athletic. He's a great friend of mine, and God bless him. I mean, super guy. But Undertaker said, basically verbatim, he's been in easier street fights than having a match with Giant Gonzalez.
Right,
he would told George, when you club me on the back, don't hit me in the back of the neck. Hit me between the shoulder blades. Yeah. He said, Bruno, Undertaker would say, Bruno, please explain this to him. Yeah. I mean, we could explain it to him all day long, and he'd still hit him in the back of the neck. It was hurting Undertaker. Sure. And Gonzalez wasn't a mean guy. He wasn't trying to hurt him.
But he was still big, and he's going to hurt you just because of his sheer size.
And he just couldn't grab. The first and only time I've ever been knocked out in the ring in my life was Gonzalez. That night in the Palace of Auburn Hills in Michigan. Yeah. When Percy Pringle, or Paul Bear, I call him, came out and hit me and took the urn back away. Sure. So Gonzalez, storyline-wise, whatever, was mad at me. Yeah. So he grabbed me by the throat, and they told him, choke slam Bruno. So 8 foot tall, his arms another however 8 foot tall, like
you're probably 10 feet
in the air or whatever. He threw me down with no care, and like he was my friend. So he just didn't know how to work. Right. It knocked me out. Right. And I was literally knocked out. Yeah. And I've took the choke slam from Undertaker and from Kane and from different with Sid. Yeah. It never hurt me because they know what to do and how to protect you. Yeah. I mean, I was legitimately
knocked out. Yeah.
And it is weird. I swear to God, I'm not joking. When I came out of it, you remember years ago, flash bulbs and people took your picture. Sure. It's all I couldn't focus. It was just like a flash bulb thing. Yeah. And I was literally, I'm not joking again, heard like the phone ring, like the old days. Yeah. I'm hearing that in my ear. I'm scared. I can't see properly. And this is before concussion protocol and everything. Sure. So I'm laying in the ring. This is a pay-per-view. Yeah. Rene Goulet, who was one of the agents, he was a monosyllabic French Canadian. He was one of the agents. Good guy, but, he came out and he goes, get out of the effing ring. It's an effing pay-per-view. I said, Rene, I'm hurt. He goes, we'll be hurt in the effing back. It's a pay-per-view. That was the concussion protocol back then.
Sure. Yeah. They just walked you, drug you out of there. Yeah. 4 guys trying to carry, probably a couple for you. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool story.
But I don't get, and these guys nowadays, they get a hangnail. They want to go to rehabilitation. They want to take 6 months off in full pay. I was there the very next day. Matter of fact, show you what a great guy Vince McMahon was and is. The next day, Strongbow, who was the Chief Jay Strongbow, was the agent for the TV. We were in Saginaw, Michigan. Sure. He says, okay, Bruno, we're going to have Gonzalez give you that choke slam again. I said, no, I ain't taking it, Chief. I said, he'd like to kill me. Yeah. He goes, well, Caesar wants that, which is Vince. Sure. I said, well, I'm going to go talk to Vince. And I explained to Vince how, what happened. He goes, well, that's fine, pal. If you're not comfortable with that, don't take it. He said, do you have any idea what other kind of bump you'd like to take? I said, just let him give me a hard turnbuckle. I'll bounce out. He goes, sounds great. Very visual. Yeah. So I went to Strongbow and told him what we were going to do. He goes, I see you went behind my back. I said, no, I went over your head.
Went over your head, yeah, for sure. That's interesting that you say that because like those names I know from they were probably at the end of their careers when I first started picking up on wrestling. So that's one of the amazing things that I learned about the business through the years because you don't see the back of the house stuff as a viewer. And through you, I learned that there's a lot of guys that they take that was superstars, or not even necessarily a superstar, but they put them in jobs because they know the business.
Look at me.
Yeah, right. But it's not they're relegated back there. It's just actually, in some ways, it's almost like a promotion because now you're not having to take the bumps. You're getting to work with the talent. You're helping coordinating the shows, like Michael Hayes. He's a good one. He's a good example.
Oh, yeah. And great mind for the business.
Yeah. I hated that dude. I'm telling you, man, like I used to, the Fabulous Freebirds, I loved to hate him. That was he was one of the best gimmicks there ever was. Flamboyant, redneck. I mean, if you remember their characters, they traveled all over a lot of territories, And but they were some of the first. They were big in the 6-man tag stuff, Right. And me growing up watching them, I just loved to watch anybody beat them. I just thought it was great, Right. Of course, the Road Warriors or somebody like that, So those are really interesting stories, and I know that you talk about like the Arn Andersons. It become very big in the WWE years after his WCW lineage, and he was huge in there. You know, those areas, the J.J. Dillons of the world. Those guys all came and worked for Vince, and you know, I don't know. I didn't learn all that until later on. You and I were talking about the majority of all the guys behind the scenes that's doing all the work and producing the shows are former talents. Then they're like, they've kind of found this next career beyond the show. Yeah. You know, they're putting on the show.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, what's funny is nowadays, a lot of the creative have never been in the business. They used to write for soap operas or sitcoms or movies. It's different now. Yeah. But when it comes to the actual matches, you got your Rick Steamboats, your Arn Andersons, your you know, different ones I could name. And there's been so many over the years. Yeah. Like some of these guys, it's funny, it makes me feel really old, and I'm serious about this. Some of the guys that are now the agents, or what they call producer now, which was my title, even though I didn't produce anything. But
you were the curtain guy. Yeah. Like you got them ready, set. You're kind of like a talent handling guy.
Something like that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Glorified gopher in a way.
I think you're doing more than that.
Well, I'm happy with that, though.
Yeah, you got them settled down before they pulled the curtain and got them out the door. Yeah.
But some of these guys that are the producers now weren't even in the business yet. When I broke in. And now they're because when I was there, it was Chief Jay Strongbow, Blackjack Lanza, Rene Goulet, Pat Patterson, J.J. Dillon, you know, old timers. Yeah. Now they're all either retired or passed away. Sure. And these guys now are that are the veterans that I was in the business 10 years before they got in. Sure. So Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it makes you feel old. I guess it just shows you how like it just carries on. It keeps growing, you know. Even though it's a different product now, it still resonates, you know, because of the history of it. Right. You know.
But you know what? There's like a lot of guys that were behind the scenes guys, like one of the best guys ever, Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, he's the best.
This guy drew more money by accident than a lot of guys that drew on purpose, man. Yeah. As a good guy or a bad guy. Yeah. And he was a behind the scenes guy at one point.
Yeah.
You know,
for a long time. Well, he became kind of like the
on-air commissioner.
Yes. He was like the guy who was running the show technically, even because Vince was still announcing at that time. Right. Yeah. So Sergeant Slaughter was the man. Yes. Like nobody went against his word. Like because he was big, they weren't going to go up against him for he was the boss, and he would beat you up. Yeah. Like both of the things. Yeah.
Super great guy.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. Super guy.
I just remember his chin was being golly, man, the guy had a chin like no other. Was he ever actually in the military?
No, they say he wasn't. I don't know. But there's the thing, and some jerk off was trying to say stolen valor. No. Are you saying so? Okay, so when Tom Cruise plays Maverick in Top Gun, is that stolen valor?
No.
You know what I mean? No. He's not claiming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bob Remus, which is Sergeant Slaughter's real name. Yeah. Bob Remus never claimed to be in the military. Sure. Sergeant Slaughter is a character.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they changed.
So you're saying Harrison Ford says he's a impersonating a space pilot? Yeah. Star Wars, you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah. So you got to meet all the, I mean, obviously not just meet them, but work with them. Right. You got to become friends with them.
Right. Oh, yeah. See, everybody, I'm eating chicken wings. And
I'm just trying to help you out, brother. Like you had a little chicken hanging off your lip. I was just trying to help you out a little bit.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Everybody, I'm kind of white trash. You know?
No, we're not. No, he's not. Bruno's a great guy.
You can still be a great guy and be white trash.
Well, that's true. I think that the cool part is all these fascinating people you get to meet along the way, and you get to call friends.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm going to tell you, you know what? A lot of people would be fascinated to hear I talk about this. How many celebrities I've met.
Well, that too. I was just getting to that. That's what I was saying. Like, not only the talent that you got to know as friends, and we all look at them as celebrities, you looked at them as friends, and they just happened to become popular and get over. But you remember all of them from when before they were something.
Well, sure.
So, but then when the Mike Tysons and the Donald Trump show up and stuff like that to these main events, superstar like the WrestleManias, you get to work with these guys and get to meet them and become friendly with them. And at the time, I bet you Mike Tyson, when that one came up, that was a big deal.
Oh, and what a super nice guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, a lot of celebrities, I met through the wrestling. Yeah. But some I would just meet because I always flew first class. Sure. Not because I'm this big shot. No, because I had so many miles, I would get an automatic upgrade.
There you go.
So I would sit in the VIP room, and then I would be in first class.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of them. I've met a lot of celebrities. Tyson.
Yeah.
Super guy.
Super sweet.
When he came to be the special referee for that
Yes.
Big match. He didn't have any referee shoes.
Right.
So, like, he just came in like, wasn't shoes suitable for that.
Sure.
So they sent me to get him shoes, and he was like, "Thank you, man. I've got the picture on my wall at home with me and Tyson shaking hands."
Sure.
Because, he was so nice. "Oh, I wear a size, whatever." They said they want black ones or blah, blah, blah. And Kevin Dunn, the producer or executive producer, said, "Get him 2 or 3 pairs so we, whatever."
Yeah, whatever you like.
And I said, "Mike, take the rest home."
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was a super, super guy.
I believe that.
Of all the celebrities I ever met, this one here wasn't even wrestling related. It was in the VIP lounge in Nashville, at the Nashville airport. Nicest, bar none, celebrity I ever met. John Stamos.
Nice. Very cool.
Super guy.
Yeah.
He was sitting there, and I walked in. I said, I didn't want to make a big fuss.
Sure.
Hello, Mr. Stamos. He goes, "My dad is Mr. Stamos. I'm John. What's your name?"
Good.
And I said, "Bruno." He goes, "You live here in Nashville?" I said, "No, I'm from the Memphis area," and blah, blah, blah. About that time, his wife came back carrying his, at the time, infant son.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but just whatever. He goes, "Well, this is my wife, Mary, and this is Bruno." And like we were old friends.
Sure.
Just super guy.
Humble.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I didn't impose myself on him.
Sure.
You don't take pictures with anybody in those VIP rooms. That's the reason.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
But he was such a nice guy.
Yeah, you have an amazing story and lived a great life, and obviously things are coming up for you. We've gotten to that point, and you spent probably when do you think, what year did you stop really being on-screen talent?
Probably around 99.
Was it? And then from there, it really went to being back of the house, support, help, whatever. But just a great gimmick still. You had to be there before the show started. You had to be there to get things set up. That's what I was talking about before, the work. It's probably a little bit easier in one way, but tougher in another way.
Well, right.
Yeah. Because you didn't have to prepare yourself to be on screen, but you're having to coordinate. There's choreographing in those shows are difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, my main thing, I never was creative or nothing. I always took care of details.
Sure.
I was a detail man.
Right.
We're having a match tonight where we want after the winner has to put the loser into a metal trash can.
So you'd have to go get the metal trash cans.
Yes.
Yes.
And then it progressed into things like Randy Orton forgot the championship belt back in his hotel room.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I'm the one they would trust to go in their room. I'm not going to steal, whatever. So things like that. And then Mr. McMahon forgot to bring his electric razor. Would you go get him one? Get him a high-end one? Whatever. I would do it, and I was happy to do it. And here's the thing. When you're a talent, the first day in whatever federation or promotion you're working for is the first day closer to getting your notice.
Right.
Because there's a shelf life.
Sure. Unless you're like just such a top dog.
Right. Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, whatever.
The Rock, whoever.
The Rock.
Yeah.
But when you're behind the scenes, as long as you do your job properly.
You're going to stay there.
Yeah.
That's how you become the longest tenured employee they had.
Whatever they
asked. That's right.
And believe me, there's some people that I work that I won't even glorify them by mentioning their name. There was one guy that was like in charge of dealing with stuff at one point that treated everybody like shit.
Right.
When he got out of there, he treated me like shit. I wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
I actually told a high-level executive in WWE one time that if I wasn't a Christian man, I would have killed that guy. And I really mean that. That's how bad of a person he was. He ended up getting fired from the company because he kept screwing people over and kept treating people like crap. Finally, when Mickie James got her notice and left the company, she had left all her gear there, and he sent it back to her in hefty trash sacks.
Oh.
And she put it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it goes. So this is what WWE thinks of me?
Yeah.
And that was it. He was gone.
Oh, yeah.
And I had already talked about him over and over.
Right.
And everybody kept telling me, just don't worry. You'll still be here and he'll be gone. And they were right. But he was a piece of crap.
Right.
He was the devil, on earth.
So how cool is it to watch, one of the things that, the character change, the gimmicks change through time. Even with something as mainstay as Undertaker, even he went through a time. He's like, man, I need to do something different and become the American badass.
That was cool. Yeah.
It was awesome, right?
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. But I'm talking about from people like, for instance, like, it's really hard to sell somebody that you knew as one thing, and all of a sudden they show up as something the next day. Now, one of the most probably iconic ones was Kane.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, because he's probably
going to be the next governor of Tennessee.
Probably,
too.
but his was, and you got to see this firsthand, right? So like he come out and he was a dentist or whatever.
Then he was the imitation Diesel.
Yeah, that was that. He was the fake Diesel for a minute. That was right after they left. Him and the other guy.
Scott Hall.
Yeah, Scott Hall. They the Razor Ramon character.
Ramon,
yeah. So I didn't like that part of the show at all.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't like it. But then when he showed up, nobody knew that was him. In the cane mask forever,
Right.
That was a really interesting drama. But you get to see, what I'm trying to get at is all these cool stories of the changes of characters. Like, well, obviously everybody knew who Mick Foley was. I mean, he could wear anything. You couldn't deny who he was. Right. He was just a funny shaped dude, that just was super tough, if you will, and was willing to do anything to get over,
right.
So whether it was Dude Love or Mankind or whatever,
Cactus Jack.
Yeah, you knew these stories, like you just knew it was him. But with Kane, the excitement, the big roar of the crowd when his cannons would go off.
Right.
And this guy's got to be like an overnight success at that point. Like it really went from being like, am I going to have a job next week? Because he was just probably struggling.
The dentist thing was like,
yeah. I don't know. Characters, I'm sure there's all the time. And it wasn't like, I don't want to call Vince by first name like I know him, but like his development, I'm sure everything wasn't a home run. There was always trying things. And,
well, sure. I mean,
that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, so when you try these things, and all of you can look at something, and every one of you in the back room go, that's a home run.
Right.
That's going to be a hit right there. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
And probably with that was probably one of the most obvious ones ever, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. People just forgot that he was the dentist.
Yeah.
He just.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know it was him behind the obviously it took.
No, you know how these people now with the internet and everything.
Sure. We didn't have it back then, though.
Right.
Yeah, the internet wasn't booming like that back then. Like we had it, but it was dial up. You was never getting stuff real time or even last week's stuff really current. So I'm just saying that was one of the things where nobody knew who he was. It was a real question.
Right.
The storyline worked well. It was
and then Paul Bear, Percy Pringle, Bill Moody is his real name.
Yeah.
Did the thing where that was my son and
yes.
caused the fire, whatever.
His voice drove me crazy, but I loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was part of the wholesale, right? So
he was a great manager.
Yeah.
He was the opposite of me. He was the big fat guy.
Yeah.
When I was always a little weaselly guy.
Yeah.
But great manager.
It was an amazing time. That Attitude Era was really amazing. Really was. To me, that's probably the best time, other than I guess the golden era, which was the early on days of Hogan. That really kind of built the company.
Yes.
And then they had some little bit, they didn't know where they was at there for a while, but that Attitude Era, man, when that stuff kicked off with Stone Cold and them.
Right.
Monday Night Wars, WCW.
Yeah, Stone Cold, what a great guy.
Oh, wow.
I mean, me and him, I just talked to him about 3 weeks ago. We stayed on the phone for over an hour.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. He's a great guy. Because he was in Memphis before he went to WCW.
Yeah.
And he would show up at the arena. We used to wrestle at the Pipkin building over on the fairgrounds. Yeah. And I was in charge of that building.
Yeah.
For the wrestling. I mean, not for the county.
Yeah, just for the show.
For the show.
Yeah.
So I was there early in the morning with my crew, setting up the ring and the chairs and everything. And he was making no money. And he'll tell you that. He was making nothing. So he would, instead of getting a hotel room, because we had to go to Louisville for the next day, he would, after he had to check out of his room at whatever time it was, he'd just come over there and be at the building all day, just waiting, for the show. He'd shower upstairs, whatever. Well, I had my little per diem to feed my ring crew.
Sure.
So I'd always bring him food.
Right.
And he never forgot that.
Forgot that.
Yeah, because I mean,
I would say all of them had humble beginnings. Like it's not like I think it's a struggle game from the get-go. Like I don't think any of them, not that I know of, but I'm sure there's some stories to where like, I had a good job and I was just doing this part-time and all of a sudden I just hit, and become.
Right.
But I think every one of them, when you look back on their beginnings and they're trying to find their character and they're trying to find, like Taker, he was part of the Towers of Power or something like that in WCW before he went.
What was it called?
The Towers of Power.
Twin Towers.
Twin Towers. There you go. And he was trying to find his range, and of course, then whoever came up with the gimmick, I'm assuming Vince did at WWE. Bruce Pritchard did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little bit quirky. It's like at the time you're thinking, but he made it work. I don't know if anybody else could have made it work. Like with their personality.
Right.
You have to have a stone cold face for that. Like you can't have a lot of emotions. You got to be a little bit stiff, and then you also got to be able to do these dynamic things that get people's attention. So just like watching these characters develop over time, but I'm sure they all come from they might have had an okay life, but when you start wrestling and traveling, and like nobody's getting big dollars.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, and if anybody that's listening to this or watching this is like young, wanting to break into business, you got to have no plan B.
No,
this is it.
That's it. You got to make it or break it.
And tons and tons of heart.
Yeah.
If this is something you're gonna, you might do, but if you don't, then just don't do it.
Yeah.
All right. And always remember this too: the road to Easy Street goes through the gutter.
Yeah.
You got to bring some to get some.
Yeah.
You can't come off like a cabbage, all head and no ass.
Sure.
That's the damn truth.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about that.
Because I'm sure that the money that even you were making in the beginning, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't great, but it wasn't. I never suffered.
Yeah.
I never lacked for anything.
Sure.
I never was at the point where I couldn't say, you know what, I'm going to go to Outback Steakhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
I never was in that position.
But my point being is, there's like, not all the talents got all their travel. I mean, like they had to get a rental car. There's probably some of that stuff where like, okay, 4 of you are going to get in this car. We're going to rent it for you and get you to that space. That was how it was.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like it was very.
But back in our day in Memphis and all that, we didn't have rent-a-cars.
Right.
We just drove our own. We charged trans.
Right.
4 cents a mile, then I went up to 6 cents a mile.
Good Lord.
If I rode with you, I paid you 4 cents a mile all the way to wherever we went.
That's what I was trying to get at. So
Yeah.
it's very, very hard to make it, to get to the Ric Flairs and the Hogans. Like those are perennial names because of the fact that there's only just a few of those guys ever made it like that.
I agree.
And they were probably making huge money in a time to where nobody else was, and so everybody was striving to that. And for the reason why you did wind up getting your Undertakers and your Stone Colds and your Rocks is because of the Hogans and the Flairs that really built the business behind them. I would say probably Hogan really. You and I discussed this in different ways. They're both important, but Hogan just took it to another stratosphere.
Oh, Hogan was Babe Ruth, the Beatles, and Elvis Presley put together in our business.
Yeah.
Nobody's in second place.
No.
Hogan is it. He drew more money and sold out more arenas, auditoriums, and stadiums than anybody in history.
And the first guy, it was absolutely the first absolute superstar. Global superstar.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And for that reason, just like the Michael Jordans of the day, the guys today are making the kind of money they make because of the fact that they put wrestling and technically on the map as a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
But
you know what? We have to give a lot of that credit to Vince.
He's the mindset behind it. Because like without him, there is no Hogan, vice versa. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because Hogan was working for Vern Gagne, the AWA, the boringest championship wrestling company in the world. They were nationwide. They were on ESPN.
Yeah.
But Vern kept it with his boring, barrel-chested, collegiate Minnesota guys with the Minnesota accent. And, I'm going to get you. Oh, that's not going to work nationwide.
No.
And it was just, he was into wrestling. No, it's sports entertainment.
Sure.
Even back then, we didn't use that phrase.
Sure.
But that's how it was. He knows how to get more animated the more
I love it, Bruno. Hey, can you go get us another 6-pack, Derrick?
Oh, I got plenty.
No, I'm just joking around. Yeah. It's great.
I'll tell you what, we've been doing this for an hour and a half. Let's
you know, take a break.
Take a break, but let's do one more little 30-minute segment or whatever, and then call it a day. How's that?
That sounds good, brother. So anyway, we're gonna pick back up. We all had a little break here. Derrick Michaud, SRP Studios. Owner and our chief engineer, producer, advertising agent. That's what he does. So anyway, he's going to join us on this final run of the show with Bruno and I, and because Derrick's really, really a big wrestling fan from the old days. So so anyway,
so
Derrick,
many questions.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Just shoot at it.
Me and Neil have been talking for the last hour and a half or whatever.
And I was listening over to the side, and I like the story about Vader. That's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
But,
any other jackasses you want to talk about while you're here?
Derrick. No, I'm
well, to give you some context, we mentioned earlier I grew up in Maine. So growing up in Maine, that's WWF.
Man, that was the territory.
Right. That was it. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Saturday Superstars.
WWF back then.
It was like 87, 88 when I was I was 9. And when I started 9, 10 years old. So it was like peak Hogan.
Yeah.
Peak squash matches. The cartoon era. One of my favorite wrestlers was Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Mr. Ed Leslie, which now, years later, I look back, I'm like, he wasn't that great, but he was cool.
And probably only there because of his association with Hogan.
Oh,
you're mouth to my sentiments.
I mean, honestly, that's the truth because they were buddies, and I think Hogan kind of
he took him to WCW.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah,
Ed Leslie's been 1,500 gimmicks.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so grew up loving wrestling, but then I kind of aged out of it. and I didn't touch it for a long time. And
Same
I wasn't
here,
watching through the whole Attitude Era. Of course, you knew Stone Cold and The Rock and everything. But I would say like 10, 15 years ago on Netflix, at the time, Netflix had every documentary you can imagine on all these different wrestlers. And from that point forward, I've become like a follower of the history.
Oh, wow.
And just
Well, do you
loving
remember
behind the scenes. I love the business as far as learning the innards of it. And
well, I was going to ask you, do you remember, since you grew up north, to me, the one, not regret, because it's not something I did, but one disappointment, I never got to manage a guy that I thought was the greatest ever, besides Lawler, is the Magnificent Morocco.
I remember him.
To me, he was the best heel that ever walked into the ring. When they turned him babyface, they ruined him.
Oh, yeah.
He was the best heel. Besides Lawler, to me, Lawler's the best of all time in the story. Right up there with Dusty Rhodes, who I feel is one of the best of all
for
time.
sure. Absolutely.
Great talker, too.
Yeah. Great Valentine is fantastic, believable, rough. Roddy Piper. But Magnificent Morocco.
Yeah.
There's some others. Paul Orndorff.
Yep.
Dr. D. David Schultz. But Magnificent Morocco. Anybody doesn't remember him? Google him, YouTube him, whatever.
Yeah.
Don Morocco.
Yeah, I remember him,
Yeah.
In those early WrestleManias.
You remember him, Neil?
Yep, I do.
Oh, this guy was absolutely phenomenal.
Well,
Pedro Morales.
Yeah.
Remember him?
I do not remember that one.
I do.
Look at the matches between Magnificent Morocco and Pedro Morales. If you didn't know wrestling was predetermined and you watched those matches on YouTube, you still wouldn't know.
Yeah.
These
That's
guys,
how good it
Derek.
was.
These guys, Derek, were probably.
That's probably 85, 86.
Yeah.
Before that, 82,
Yeah,
84.
they're probably
So-
82, 81, like when Vince first took the USA to the next level. I was telling him on our way over here, I said, you know, one of my favorite memories of all time, my birthday. It had to have been 83 or 84. I was probably like 10 or 11. But on my birthday, Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik for the World Championship.
Yeah.
And that was my birthday. I'm like, this was meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the Iron Sheik is great because that's storytelling and a way to move a belt from a babyface to another babyface.
Oh, yeah. Well,
they used him as the
Bob,
Yeah.
well, the problem
that's
was
how they were able to give it to Hogan.
Well, the whole problem was because of Bob Backlund was Vince Senior's boy.
He was
and he was
milk
just too
toast.
He was
Vince called him, milk toast.
He was just a little too bland, you know.
And 5+ years he was champion.
Oh yeah, he held it
more
too
than
long.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was 7
It
years.
just got to a point the change needed to happen.
And I don't know if y'all know this. Vern Gagne offered the Iron Sheik, I don't know how much money, but a lot of money to break Hogan's leg in that match.
Oh my goodness,
I've heard that.
Yeah, true story.
And he wouldn't do it
He
because
wouldn't do it.
Because
no.
Vern was.
I heard Sheik was a really good guy too, by the way.
He was a character.
He was my friend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go by. I'm not going to.
I think he was kind of a tough guy for sure.
He was a bad.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I'm not going to say he was a good guy. He was a good guy if he liked you.
Yeah,
but he was mean.
Yeah.
Okay. You said it's okay to cuss on here?
Yeah, you say whatever you want to say.
All right. We'd be in a restaurant. I remember one time it was Brooklyn Brawler, myself, Ted DiBiase, and Iron Sheik in the restaurant. He was the most recognizable because of the mustache.
Sure.
The waitress walked over. We were up in Massachusetts. Oh my God, you're the Iron Sheik. You're the Iron Sheik. Yes, baby, me, Iron Sheik. Me, Iron Sheik. Oh, can I get your autograph, Iron Sheik? Yes, I tell you. I give you autograph. Maybe you'll give Iron Sheik his food for free. And she goes, well, sir, I'm just a waitress. I don't own this place. I can't. She goes, you fucking whore. Get the fuck away. I remember Ted DiBiase was like, Cosgrove, no. We were so embarrassed. He was that way. He was just, he could be.
What was his real name?
Cosgrove Vaziri.
Where was he from?
Iran.
He was actually Iranian.
Oh, he was literally,
okay. I didn't know.
literally a bodyguard
for the Sheik.
For the Shah of Iran.
Right.
For real. No,
but man, when you see that guy doing those things like this,
it's crazy.
He could not. Nobody could.
No
replicate
one else could
that.
do them. What were those called?
If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
Yeah, there's
something clubs.
There's some clubs.
I don't know, but dude, I even
Persian
seen
clubs or something.
I even seen there was like Tony Atlas tried it. He couldn't do it, and this guy was like the epitome of
he couldn't do it.
You know who could do it?
Who?
And the Sheik made sure he never did it on TV. Bob Backlund.
I believe that.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have Bob do it.
Yeah,
because that's the top baby face.
Right, right.
Yeah, Bob was a monster in his own right. He just didn't have the right look. Vince was right about the Hogan thing because it was flashy and
for sure.
over the top, and nobody had seen anything like Hogan. Like, I think
he was making waves in AWA.
Well, and then the Rocky movie put him over.
Yeah.
That's what set him. And Vern Gagne had the opportunity.
Well, as the story goes, Vince Sr. didn't want him to do the movie. So Hogan was like, see ya.
Yeah.
Right. Pounded sand. And then started ripping the shirt and doing the Hogan thing in AWA. Right. And Vince went and grabbed him. As soon as he took over, he knew who he needed.
Oh, yeah.
That's just different ideas. Vince, I guess Junior had a vision of what he wanted, and the dad was getting older and just kind of, made some money and probably just happy with the way things were going.
He was in the territory mindset.
Yeah.
You didn't
well, they were friends
feathers, right?
because
that was WWF was just a northeastern territory at one time.
Just happened to be the most populous part of the country.
Correct.
Right. So they had a big view.
They had Square Garden.
Yeah. And Boston.
And the Boston Garden, the Providence Civic Center.
Philadelphia,
and
all that
Philadelphia
stuff.
Spectrum.
All that stuff.
Pittsburgh Civic Arena.
Yeah.
All these huge
he probably had the biggest territory of all.
Well, like you said, the most popular.
Yeah. So he had the most eyes. But
for sure.
I think that just back then, though, all those guys were friendly. Like they shared wrestlers. Like we were talking earlier, like that's how Ric Flair becomes so popular is because he went to every territory.
That's why he was the NWA champ.
Yeah, and he traveled around and he'd take the top baby face of the area and let him beat the shit out of him for an hour, and then Rick would pin him or get the DQ or something. Put him over, and then Rick's still the jet flying. He's still the guy.
I mean, Andre the Giant was a feature.
Yeah.
He was an attraction.
He was booked by Vince Sr.
Everywhere.
He loaned him out to everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same way Crockett had Flair, and then he booked him out everywhere. So those guys were just different. Hogan did it in a different way. He did it from a TV station 1 or 2 nights a week or something, and he didn't have to travel like that. I don't think he had the grind that those guys had at that time.
Well, it's funny Hogan. Though. Hogan came from territories. He worked the Tampa territory to Memphis. His biggest break was the Memphis territory.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Hogan was
he was a heel, right?
Yeah, he was a heel.
He was a heel the first time he was with the WWF.
Correct.
Yeah.
Fred Blassie was his manager.
Okay. Yeah. Golden, what was his name?
Sterling
Golden. Yeah, that's what it was.
Sterling Golden, and then he came up. Terry Boulder.
Yeah.
And then he became Hulk Hogan.
Hogan.
Yes.
Who gave him the name Hulk Hogan?
I'm not sure. I can speculate, but I don't know for sure. So
I know he wound up in a suit with like Marvel or something over that name.
Yeah, something happened, so he changed it.
Instead of the Hulk, it was like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, they all kind of had to share. But
yeah, something worked out in the end.
He just kept saying his prayers and taking his vitamins.
Yeah. That's right.
It all took care of itself.
Yeah,
but he's a good effing guy. I love him. He's a super, super guy. He's a religious guy. He's a good guy.
He gets a lot of flack. He's a polarizing figure, though, isn't he?
Well,
And you know what? The WWE didn't think it through. Put him in my blue state, California, when they brought him out of the Netflix thing, and they
booed his ass out of the room.
That's a blue state, a Kamala Harris state.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting in anybody's politics. Well, I'm just saying.
When he ripped the shirt for Trump, that changed everything.
Yes.
That definitely divided his Hulksters.
Right.
So, in California, they booed him out of the building.
Yeah.
And then I think people booed because it was like the cool thing to do now. Oh, let's boo Hulk.
Well,
old school Hulk. He's so old.
Well, here's the whole thing. John Cena, who's a great guy and a tremendous talent, drew a ton of money. Yeah. You know what happened? He got to the point where he's so popular now, it's cool to hate him.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
We're sick of hearing him.
Yeah.
We're sick of seeing him. They're just pushing him to the moon.
And he's one of the greatest guys I ever met,
Just like early Rock. I know you were talking about Rock, but when Rock came into the WWF, they didn't want him. They're like, this is fake. We don't believe this.
Yeah, they get that stupid gimmick. They almost like they had a dress on. It's like,
Yeah, so
I think it's supposed to be a little Polynesian looking.
Right.
Yeah,
but it was fake Polynesian.
Right.
But he was just trying to be an over the top baby face, and people saw right through it.
Yeah, man, when he turned on accident, when he did, it was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and you said he didn't like it.
No.
At first, like he thought, "Oh my God, what's happened?"
Yeah. And then he realized he took that and he ran with it.
Yeah.
Now look at him now. He'll walk up to you and say, "Screw you," and then you'll yay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm telling you, this guy, he's family to me. We're family, legit.
Yeah.
That's how much I love him.
Sure.
And every bit of success he has, he earned. He worked for it. Yeah. He didn't just, he wasn't born into it.
Well, it wasn't overnight either. So,
no, it wasn't overnight.
Yeah.
And he was in Memphis. I refereed 90% of his matches as long as I was there because I would talk to him in the ring.
Well, that's part of your job, right?
Not necessarily.
Because now they have earpieces.
Yeah, I never would do that.
Producers are telling them, when on TV, a break's coming up, right? You got 2 minutes, right?
In our day, you're right. But in our day, a guy named Mr. Coffee would come out and bite his pencil or maybe jerk on his tie or whatever.
So signals.
Almost like signals in baseball. Hand signals.
Yes. But our thing as a referee, my job is, especially when I'm the experienced one, is to call something, okay, all right, turn this way, whatever. But just the bare minimum. When I love a guy, like I love Dwayne, I would talk to him, hey, man, shit, don't run the ropes. He just was working on your leg for 5 minutes, whatever. I would go above and beyond.
Sure. Bit,
Yes.
Well, I think they call it calling it in the ring.
And I've always been fascinated by the art of calling it in the ring because 99% of the time, at least my eyes can't see when they're communicating. When they lock up, you can tell when they're locking up, they're talking to each other.
Well, here's the thing.
But when the wrestlers talk about matches they call in the ring, they make it seem like they're having full conversations in there, and it's so hard to tell.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's the deal.
Yeah.
These guys nowadays are trained to learn spot A, spot B, spot C, spot D.
Very cool.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
Okay. In our day, we'd call it in the ring. Only thing we knew was the finish.
Yeah.
Okay, or maybe a high spot.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm going to explain to you why. I've been out there so many times when I've seen something, even as a manager or a referee, I see something, hey, this would be good right now. These guys now, they just know. It's almost like we talked about earlier, Tom Cruise or whatever. Actors, they get that off, scripted out. Okay. Like now, I still do special guest referee in smaller organizations sometimes. If I'm in the ring with some of these young guys and I see something, I'll say, like a tag match, I say, tell your partner to draw me. You catch the guy to sunset flip. So I'm arguing with the heel. The babyface got the guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm over there arguing with the guy.
Yeah.
People are coming out of their chairs.
So you're arguing, but you're really communicating.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're pissed off at him and you're arguing.
Let me know when he's got him covered.
I love that.
Yeah. And stuff like that. Like we'll be in the ring.
Timing's everything.
Yeah.
Listening to the crowd. Listening to the crowd.
And see, they can't do that now when it's all the memorize. We've called it all in the ring. I've worked with Lawler. We've changed shit in the match.
Yeah.
Because something wasn't getting over, we switched it up.
Well, speaking of that, and Hogan and Rock, WrestleMania, what was it, 18? No, it was later.
But it was the world's worst at that.
It was the WrestleMania they met.
The one in Montreal, right?
It was Icon versus Icon. And Hogan had come back from WCW, so he was still Hollywood Hogan.
Had been
Montreal or Toronto?
Maybe 03, 04.
But I can't remember. But the story goes, because it ended up being this legendary match, like a 5-star match. But it was billed, of course, Rock's the babyface and Hogan's the heel, but the crowd didn't want it.
Right.
Yeah.
The crowd changed it. Yeah. And they both talk about this in interviews where they, on the fly, kind of had to, push the script to the side and wrestle now where Rock is wrestling more like a heel and Hogan starts going over like a babyface. Right there in the ring. And that goes to what you're saying. It had to go old school and just kind of flip it around a little bit.
These new guys wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
We know how to do it.
Sure.
We know how to, one thing, I don't know a whole lot about nothing, but I know everything about wrestling. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I know, there's one constant in the wrestling business, and that's change. Okay? One constant. And I'll say this, too. One thing you can always count on, or two things you can always count on in the wrestling business, two things. Fake tits and real assholes.
Boom, boom. Yeah, boom. That's where you need to hit the button. Which one is it, Jake?
It's not up.
That's a true story, though. But really, the only constant is change.
Yeah.
Right when you think, like Roddy Piper used to say, just when you think you know all the answers, I change the question.
Sure. Yeah,
and that's the truth. The business changes.
He was another amazing character.
Oh, my God. And a great guy.
Yeah. I loved him.
One of the best talkers in the biz.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Him,
just quick.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan.
Do
you have any Bobby Heenan stories?
Oh, I love Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now, y'all are probably too young to remember this, but you can Google it or YouTube it or whatever. When I was managing the Big Bully Busnick, my first guy in WWF, would walk to the ring and would always bully. Well, he would because he was the bully, but I was, his sidekick. A bully a little kid in the audience.
Right.
There was always a little kid either with cotton candy or popcorn or a balloon, and Bully Busnick would take his cigar and he'd pop the balloon, or he'd take the popcorn and dump it over the little girl's head, the cotton candy, and throw it in the air. Which in reality they'd be sued or whatever.
Right.
We did it all over It was Bobby Heenan's daughter.
The whole time.
So it was work the whole time.
Every time, yeah.
Oh, no, we can never grab an audience.
Sure.
But
back then, who knows?
Yeah. Well, that's what
true.
they were trying to make you believe it.
But it was like they would put her like in a different hat or something.
Yeah.
That always, but we did it to Heenan's daughter. That was Heenan was a great guy. I remember one day we were up somewhere in New York somewhere, and they brought sandwiches in for us, and it was like real thin little ones. And Heenan goes, Jesus Christ, there's more meat than this between Andre's teeth.
But him and Gorilla Monsoon were a killer team.
Oh yeah, Gorilla, what a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's when I started really following WWF, is when those two were together, and they had that little show they did together.
Yeah, Tuesday Night Titans.
Yeah. This is good stuff, man.
That's awesome.
You know who else is a great guy? Is Macho Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got along because I knew him from Memphis, so I had a connection with him already.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's one of the story there is his family's territory started infringing on the Memphis territory, so they just ended up buying them, correct?
No, they would have. No, that you're close, but not 100%. Memphis territory was very strong.
Yeah.
Savage and his dad and them tried to infringe, like you said, just didn't work out. Okay, even though Savage was really doing everything he could to try to infringe. Goes to show what kind of businessman Lawler and Jerry Jarrett were. When Savage and them's ICW finally shut down, Lawler and them didn't say, screw you. They brought him in.
Yeah.
They brought Savage in. They brought Lenny Poffo in. They brought Tony Falk in.
Because there's talent.
Yeah.
Take him in.
They became friends.
Yeah. Poffo, even though that's Randy's brother, but I mean, he had enough talent to get into the show. I mean, he made it to the WWE.
The genius.
Yeah, the genius.
Of course, Randy brought him in.
Well, of course. But I mean, still to get like, primetime spots on the show, you got to have some talent. They're not going to do that just because you're a brother. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
And Papa was a good worker.
He had to work.
He was talented. He just didn't have the, I guess, whatever it may be, the look, Macho's voice is probably 90% of what his character was, Right. So,
But Randy was smooth as silk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a pile driver from almost anybody.
Yeah.
Because that's putting your whole career between somebody's legs. I'm not even trying to be funny.
Very dangerous move.
Look at Stone Cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I took it from Lawler numerous times.
You trusted him.
Oh, absolutely. And I trusted Macho. And anytime he pile drive me, nothing. It was like I would let him do it 10 times in a row if he had.
So, I never paid attention much to was that a fake voice, or was that just the way he talked all the time?
No, that's the way he talked all the time. I mean, he amped it up. Like,
Sure.
Like, oh, yeah, let me go. In real life, hey, Neil, how you doing?
Yeah. He had a very gravelly voice.
Right.
Right.
But I wouldn't know about that.
No, you wouldn't know about that. Yeah.
But
you and him got
some of the
similar
best
things.
wrestlers, they're themselves amped up to 11.
Oh, of course.
So that's what made him a genius. Because
Hogan,
that was him.
Sure.
Just he would amp it up, and then he was a great worker in the ring.
You know what's funny? Some of the guys, like Dusty Rhodes, in real life he was quiet and soft-spoken. Jimmy Valiant, same way.
Really?
Same way, I think Sid was kind of quiet in his mix.
He was until he got upset.
Right. But I'm saying, like, when he's talking, right. But just talking, though, he seemed to be fairly laid back and chill. But like on TV, Psycho Sid was the whole thing. And he's like,
he was a beast.
He was a beast, yeah.
He was a beast.
Yeah. And probably, we were talking about that outside of Lawler and maybe Kamala. I mean, probably the biggest superstar to come out of the Mid-South region overall, as far as maybe,
Let's see. Let's think about it. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Sid, Savage.
I didn't know Savage was from Memphis.
Not from Memphis.
Well, I'm talking about just that lived here, that kind of grew up into it and kind of like started here.
Did he live here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sid's from West Memphis.
Yeah. And
Coco Beware.
Yeah, Coco.
Hall of
Forgot
Famer.
about
Coco
that. Forgot
Beware.
about
Hall
that.
of Famer.
Yeah, he's from Memphis.
He took the first tombstone.
Actually from Union
Undertaker.
City, but
Well, he lives here though.
Yes.
Yeah,
he took
still
the
lives
first tombstone from Undertaker.
That's correct.
And Undertaker wasn't facing the hard cam, and kind of dropped him on his head.
Yeah.
You didn't see that?
No.
Oh,
he was there a little bit before me.
It was a Survivor Series.
Okay.
When Undertaker made his introduction. Anyways.
But Coco's from the area. Jimmy Hart from the area.
Hey, you know what's cool about Jimmy is this dude is like a phenomenal songwriter. Like I didn't even know that. Like all those songs, you know those those intro songs you hear for all those wrestlers back in the day. Like
he wrote a bunch.
He wrote a bunch of them and got credit and copyrighted.
Yeah, it was him and a guy named Jim Johnson.
Yeah. They wrote like the intro music for like some of the biggest stars you can think of. Like all that music.
Well, it's part of the identity of the wrestler.
Yeah, but I mean, but how does this wrestling manager?
Well, don't forget, before he was a wrestling manager, he was the lead singer for the Gentrys.
Right. I knew that.
And music is what got him into the business.
Weird how his transition took place, and then of course while he's also managing and the biggest show on earth, for instance, then he starts getting into writing the show tunes for him, and they're really great. I mean, I can't remember all of them, but you would know them, every one of them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Lawler gave him his break in the business too.
I believe that.
Well, what happened was, Lawler wanted to sing. He did that record that time back when it was, vinyl. Mm-hmm. And Hartson wrote it for him. And
okay. I got you.
That's when they met.
Okay.
And Lawler's a few years younger than Hart.
Yeah.
They both graduated from Treadwell.
Okay.
I didn't spit in your face, did I?
Oh, no.
Oh, you were doing this. I mean, shaking and talking.
Eyes burning. Eyes burning.
They would be with these hot ass chicken wings. But I'm trying to think who else from the area that lived here.
Kamala.
That would be well known. I mean,
Kamala, obviously.
Kamala, yeah.
Man, I don't know who else that was from the area that went to that level.
Honky Tonk Man.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So he was from here?
Oh, yeah.
Ed Ferris, right?
Wayne Ferris.
Yes. What was he from? Memphis?
No, from Jackson, I believe. But that's
still the same area.
Yeah. I loved Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah.
And
he put a guitar on somebody every time.
He's out there on YouTube doing a lot of shoot videos, as they call him. Yeah. Man, he's got a mouth. He's so fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's cool.
Well, that was part of his whole thing is he could talk.
Oh,
man. Yeah, he was great. And he put that. I used to think when I was a kid, I'm like, I know how much my dad paid for that guitar for me. I was just thinking all the money wasted, and of course they're all gimmick guitars,
right.
But as a kid, you're just thinking, what a waste. You know what I mean?
Up until just a few years ago, he was the record holder for the length of time holding the Intercontinental belt.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he was that hot of a heel that they just kept it on him, and all the baby faces would just chase him, and it just
I think
money.
that Warrior wound up.
He squashed him.
Yeah, he squashed him.
He squashed him at a SummerSlam.
Yeah, got rid of it. There's a lot of people mixed reviews on him.
When I was 10 years old, 11 when he popped, and going back to the music, when his music would hit, the arenas would pop, I'd pop. He was one of my favorites. Years later, as I'm really digging into the history, it's like, oh, yeah, he was kind of a scumbag and a shitty wrestler.
Well, when the bell rang, the magic went away.
Yeah.
Because I worked with him every night.
And he'd blow himself up with all the running and the hitting the ropes. And
I worked with him every night managing Kamala. Okay. That was a C-team main event.
Yeah.
Like I was telling y'all earlier.
Yeah.
Well, the finish every night was I would climb up on the apron and argue or whatever. Warrior would pick me up and press slam me into Kamala.
Right.
And then I would roll off.
I remember this. Yeah. You know what's crazy is looking at you, it wasn't you to me. You know what I mean? Because I know you as Bruno. I don't know you as Harvey.
He's doing
but I do remember that happening.
He just tossed me. He didn't work with me. He just tossed me. And it was like, I had to be like Velcro on him because I didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He'd hurt you.
Yeah, he didn't.
So he was very stiff.
Very stiff and very reckless.
One of the stiffest.
Yes, and very reckless.
And wasn't respected.
By anybody.
Was not respected.
He just had a look. Vince liked it, and that's all that mattered.
Shot him to the moon.
And he got over real good because of his look and stuff. Because, if you go back and look at him when he was in the Memphis territory, him and Sting were buddies. Yep. Like they kind of broke in together, I guess, and they had and Sting was very charismatic and knew how to talk and was a good on-screen character.
Right. But also a good guy that people respected.
I think so, yeah. And then
I don't know him well, but he was always nice.
There's always good tutorials about him. Everyone loved him.
Yeah, and then when he went to WCW from here, he just took off. Like they painted his face up. He had a whole new gimmick.
Well, don't forget, I'll throw a little history at you.
Go for it.
He went to Mid-South, Bill Watts' territory.
Okay.
Before he went to
WCW.
Yes. Eddie Gilbert booked him in UWF.
Okay.
Bill Watts'.
Okay.
Eddie Gilbert was the booker.
Well, see, I couldn't watch that. I was over,
Right.
that wasn't, it was just
That's
a
why I'm giving you a
regional.
little
It's
background,
territory.
yeah.
I'm glad you know that. See, you are well traveled, Bruno. You have been everywhere, sir.
Well, I mean, I've done this in April, it'll be 46 years.
Yeah.
46 years.
That's awesome.
That's as old as Derrick is.
All with the WWF? Or
No. All the different territories.
Yeah.
I've been with WWF for 35
I'll
years.
hear all of that when I edit this.
Yeah, you'll hear it back when we
Oh,
go
you
back.
weren't even listening when you were sitting
A little, yeah, as much as I could.
I think you want to be surprised by it when he goes back and edits it. He'll probably.
Yeah, I mean, I
cool.
started in 79.
Yeah.
I went to WWE in like 89 or 90.
Yeah.
So,
you said you had a decade of different territories.
right. Mostly Memphis, but Kansas City, Louisiana,
Birmingham.
Back to Kansas City, Birmingham, back to Birmingham, back to Memphis.
And that's what it was like back then. All the wrestlers.
Well, I think that
bounced
was,
around.
and even then, for the 70s, I think a lot of those territories appeared at that time, really grew a lot as wrestling grew because, before that, the territories were even smaller. Like there was like these little house shows that you'd have just like in a couple of towns that were really focused on stuff,
And do you know how many territories there were back years ago? It's unbelievable. There was, and you didn't see it outside of your own TV area. In other words, if I get burned out in Memphis for a while, they were using me. I was just being played out.
Yeah.
Lawler, we were best friends and still are. But I'm saying back then he'd say, Bruno, see if you can find a place to go. He didn't want to just get rid of me. He'd say, you're getting played out. Find a place to go. And then bring in like a big fat guy to be a manager, something different.
Just something totally different.
I would call around and find a place that had an opening. And I'd say, okay, Lawler, I'm going to start in wherever. He goes, all right, well, have a run there and call me when you're ready to come back. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so I always remember this. The territories always, depending on the size of the territory, had anywhere from 12 to 16 to 20 wrestlers, okay, in each territory. But there's only like maybe 2, at the most 3 referees and 1 or 2 managers.
Right.
So there wasn't as many spots for a guy like me as for a wrestler.
Sure.
So when I had to get somewhere, I had to establish myself.
Right.
That's when I finally told Lawler, look, I don't want to leave no more. Instead of managing, how about they put me in charge of the ring crew in Memphis.
Sure.
And they
let you
made me a
referee. Yeah, that's right.
And then I was solid. I didn't have.
You were happy with that.
Yeah.
And
that's when WWF called me and gave me my tryout. I told Lawler, I says, I'll never forget. I was in his house.
Yeah.
We were talking, and I says, WWF called me, want me to come up there. I said, you know what? I'm just going to turn it down. He goes, you're going to turn it down, or you're going to stay here and put up the ring with Chili Willie and Fat Raymond? I said, yeah. I said, I'm solid here. He goes, you're telling me you're going to turn down the WWF? I said, yeah. He goes, you're fired. Get up there. Yeah. I said, well, what if I get up there and they don't want me? He goes, I'll let you put in an application.
Because you went before he did, probably, right? Yeah. Because he went later on. What's amazing.
Jimmy Hart was the first one.
Yeah.
Then Savage. Then Coco.
Yeah.
And then me. I'm talking about one straight from Memphis.
Right.
A lot of guys that came through here.
Like Hogan. All those guys came through here. Sid, all of them, so.
And who was the, to me, even though he didn't start in Memphis, but he worked here in Memphis for a while, and he was a big main eventer. The guy that was like the epitome of central casting, if you're going to look for a wrestler, Paul Orndorff.
Oh, man. Yeah, Mr. Wonderful. Bro, he was amazing. Christ.
He had everything. He could talk. He could work. He was handsome. He was built like a brick shit house.
Dude, main event in WrestleMania 1.
Yes.
And a serious tough guy.
With Hogan going
a very serious tough guy.
He beat the shit out of Vader. You know that, right?
I did know that. Yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
At
WCW.
But I heard you mention earlier about Shawn Michaels kicking him in the face. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that. Vader smelled like a Billy Goat.
I was just going to say, they said he stunk. He was the stinkiest wrestler out there.
So that happened in WCW, I think, when Orndorff whooped him, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said, I never worked WCW, but I was told by a lot of friends that worked there, Terry Taylor and them, said Orndorff was in shower shoes, and he was just coming out of the shower. I don't know if he was naked or his underwear. I don't know. But I don't know even what the argument was about or whatever.
Right.
But Orndorff just beat the shit out of him with shower shoes.
Yeah. And look, Leon was a big dude, man.
Big dude, but he was a bully.
Yeah.
And he was a paper tiger.
But he could move, though, that size.
Well, he was athletic for sure.
Oh, I ain't going to lie about that.
Yeah,
he was
crazy.
athletic.
Yeah.
But his shit was so stiff and hurt people.
Yeah, he was rough.
And you know what? People say, "Oh, he was the best big man." Bullshit. Have you ever seen Bam Bam Bigelow?
Dude, that was probably the most amazing.
Yes.
That dude could fly.
Yeah, he was amazing.
And then King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
And here's one maybe before y'all's time. Got him Crusher Jerry Blackwell.
Yeah, it's before my time.
Yeah, but he was great. But the best big man, in my opinion, was Bam Bam Bigelow.
He's amazing.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's close this out with a good Bam Bam Bigelow.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bam Bam, as y'all may know, you may not know because you came from up north, but
I knew him. Yeah.
But I mean, you may know that he came to Memphis before he went to WWF.
I do remember that vaguely.
And he was in here, make a big angle against Lawler.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he was getting over like $1 million. I mean, this guy was phenomenal. Okay. We would run Memphis. We'd run Memphis TV every Saturday morning, live TV.
Yeah.
And 3 Saturday nights out of the month, we'd go to Nashville. One Saturday night of every month, we would run Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Right.
Which was, 45 minutes from Memphis. So we did Memphis TV that morning. Bam Bam was traveling with me. And he goes, he had that northern accent, which you're familiar with. He said, "Well, Bruno, what are we going to do all day? We don't have to leave for Jonesboro till 5 o'clock or maybe even later. What are we going to do all day?" And I told him, they just opened this new casino called Splash Casino.
Oh, my God,
bro.
This was some years ago then.
Yeah.
This is like 89, 90 or something, right?
I says, me and my uncle, every Saturday that I don't have to leave right for Nashville, I pick him up. We go down and eat the buffet at Splash Casino. You get a free buffet every day. It was in a commercial appeal.
Yeah.
And they give you $10 to play on. They was trying to get you.
And you had to stand in line for a couple hours to get in there.
Unless you had a VIP thing. Being Downtown Bruno.
You got in.
Yeah. So I says, "Do you want to go down and eat with me and my uncle?" He goes, "Yeah, I'd like to. That'd be something nice to do." I said, "Okay." So my uncle lived in Lakeview.
Yeah, Lakeview Trailer Park. Yep.
I had a 2-seat, no back seat Toyota pickup truck then. My uncle was at the time was like 72 years old. He's no longer with us anymore. So I says, "Okay, Scotty," Bam Bam's real name was Scotty Bigelow.
Okay.
I says, "Scotty," I says, "let's go pick up my uncle and we'll go down." I says, "I'll tell my uncle to sit in the back in the the bed, and you. No, I'm not going to make that old man sit in the bed. I'll sit in the bed. You put him up in the front." Yeah. Okay.
Plus, he was huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd have got in a single cab 2-seater pickup with you.
Well, it would have been difficult. It wasn't the bench seat. It was the 2. Yeah. So he sat in the back. So I went and got Larry, my uncle. He came out. Bam Bam said, "Hey, how you doing?" Didn't really meet him yet.
Yeah.
So my uncle got in there. Bam Bam. So we don't remember. We just got through. Bam Bam just got through leaving Lawler laying on TV and beating up obviously. And we're driving down 61, just coming off the TV. People are almost crashing their cars. Like, that's fucking Bam Bam in the back of that truck. So
it's amazing.
Okay, but it gets better.
Yeah,
it gets better. My uncle was a great old guy, but he was mouthy. So apparently that week when I was out of town, he was at a beer joint, and him and some other guy got in an argument over $5. "Hey, Larry, I paid you that $5 back no, you didn't. You never paid me." There's a guy named Bill Lee, big old tall guy that used to be in Walls. Anyway, this guy, he was like 40 at the time. My uncle was like 72. Apparently Bill Lee just punched my uncle out, blacked his eye, broke his nose. My uncle had like stitches and everything. And it was terrible. This big old bully guy, over $5.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got to the casino. Bam Bam hadn't really officially met my uncle yet. So we're walking in and I said, well, Scotty, this is my Uncle Larry. They shook hands. He goes, "What happened to you?" And he told the whole story. He got like really upset. He goes, "That's bullshit. You don't beat up an old man like that." Yeah. So we ate. Everybody's freaking out. "It's Downtown Bruno. It's Bam Bam Bigelow. Oh, my God." And Bam Bam wanted to play with little slides, whatever. So we're going back to Walls afterwards, getting ready to drop off my uncle and go to Jonesboro. And Bam Bam goes, "Where's that beer joint this happened at?" He says, "It's right across the state line. It's called Last Chance. It's not there no more. There's a gas station there now. Yeah. At that time, it was an old beer joint called Last Chance. Jimmy and KK's Last Chance. Yeah. So drive me up to the beer joint. Let's go. he goes, come on, Larry, you come with me. We walk in. Me, Bam Bam Bigelow, and my Uncle Larry.
Yeah.
Everybody's in there. It's, like 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock, whatever. They're drinking beer, shooting pool. Oh, my God, it's Bam Bam Bigelow. Oh, my God. They don't freak out about me because I'm, always around there. But they go, it's Bam Bam Bigelow. Oh, my God. Can we have your autograph? He goes, where's Bill Lee?
Yeah.
Where's Bill Lee? And they go, well, we hadn't seen him today, whatever. Can we have your autograph? Bam Bam flipped the table over. Everybody's beers was on it and potato chips, whatever. Flipped the table. He goes, I bet you didn't know this is my uncle. He pointed at Larry. He goes, you tell Bill Lee I'll be back for it. You never know when I'm going to be expected to be here, whatever he said, but I'll be back for Bill Lee. Nobody ever seen Bill Lee since.
You never went back.
He split town. Yeah.
They're all like, dude, Bam Bam Bigelow's coming here looking for you.
Yeah.
Something's up.
Yeah, he made a big scene.
Yeah.
He literally flipped the table.
He was mad.
Oh, yeah, because, he was my uncle.
Sure.
And plus, that he was such a nice old guy.
Yeah.
We were playing slots and laughing and cutting up. And
Yeah.
that's back when the slot machines, if you won something, like quarters would fall out.
Actual coins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bam Bam gave Malcolm, here, put this $20 bill in the machine. Oh, okay. Just do it, I said. They were playing and laughing and just had a good time.
That's cool.
Eating a buffet. And
Sure.
Malcolm was a legitimately nice guy.
Yeah.
He retired from the Memphis Fire Department. Just a good guy. But this big old bully guy punched him and beat him up over $5.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that
Bam Bam was fixing to take care of his ass.
I wish.
Bill Lee would have been in there a day. I think he would have beat him. I don't know if he would have beat him up, but he would have put the fear of God in him.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love hearing the stories about the people as humans.
Yeah, the human
gimmick.
side of them.
How they're really, most of them are nice guys.
Yeah.
And just,
And he was a great guy. When he died, it just...
Yeah.
Man, gone too soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Super guy. He was a great guy. King Kong Bundy was a great guy.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper was a great guy.
I heard you say Jimmy Snuka earlier.
Yeah.
One of my favorites growing up.
Superfly.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way
Great guy.
You know how many
jumping off
damn
the top of the
times I
cage.
sprained my ankle jumping off the side
I
of my
bet.
headboard when I was like 7, 8 years old trying to replicate them moves?
Snuka.
I stole that
Crazy,
from Snooker,
man.
too.
Yeah.
Because in Memphis, I was Downtown Bruno. I did the thing. I stole it from him.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
kneeled down on one knee like Piper did when he was
Yeah.
making fun of Snooker. I stole it. I believe there was nothing original in the business.
Yeah.
I stole most of the shit that got me over.
Nothing new under the sun, so
Right.
you got to get it from somewhere. But listen, we are running into a long segment, which, man, I think we could talk for 4 or 5 hours on
Thanks
all the
for letting me
stuff.
come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, it was
You're
enjoyable.
welcome.
And I want to
Yeah.
say this before we close out. For those around DeSoto County that are listening to this, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And I'm an alderman in DeSoto County in Walls, Mississippi, the town of Walls. Election time is coming up in June, and I'm really doing the best I can as a 4-year incumbent, hopefully, alderman.
Yeah.
I really want to get reelected. I'm doing the best I can for the town of Walls.
You're good for the town of Walls, Bruno.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So please, everybody, vote for Downtown Bruno. It's on the sign, Downtown Bruno Lawler. Bruno Lawler is my real name. Please vote for me. I really want to have one more term in Walls. And in closing, please remember the charity that Neil brought up earlier.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Feed
Thank
the
you.
lambs.
Feed my lambs.
Feed my lambs. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Feed my lambs.
That's
I'm just
right.
kidding.
That's right.
Feed
Well,
the
they
lambs.
tend to listen. They're your community. You see these
Exactly.
kids every day, and
Yes.
you've been great about showing up and doing appearances and helping me every year. You show up, you shake some hands, get some food, and everything you can do because a lot of times you're busy, And I want to thank you for that. But yeah, I implore anybody that's listening and lives in the town of Walls to give Bruno another turn and vote for him. Get out and vote. That's hugely important. There's not a lot of folks in Walls, but it's important he gets back in there. And I know that, I don't kind of try to keep up with the local politics down there. But I know he's been good for the town, gave him some notoriety, and people hear about town of Walls. They know where Bruno's at.
And you know what? I want everybody to remember this too. It doesn't matter the party, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, because in the town of Walls or any town in DeSoto County,
It's at large.
yeah, it's at large.
Yeah.
And not only that, we're not voting on immigration, gun control, whatever. It's local things. It's not about the federal things.
Sure,
it's
sure.
our local things. So we're
We're trying
all
to take
in it
care of our
together.
people. Yeah,
it's
just
not
trying
a party motivated thing. And I really enjoyed this broadcast. Derrick, I'm glad you joined us.
Good
Neil,
meeting
you're a
you.
great guy, a good friend. We're friends now too.
That's right.
And I'm going to leave everybody with this. It's like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. Now, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's amazing podcast with the great Bruno Lawler. And I want to kind of continue on. You can look him up at Downtown Bruno Bookings. It's on Facebook if you guys are interested, and try to reach out to him. He is not a social media guy, so you're not going to find him on TikTok. You're not going to find him on any outlet. He pretty much has a friend that kind of runs his booking. It's Downtown Bruno Bookings. So if you want to look it up, book him for a show, book him for an event, a podcast, whatever you want to do, I'm sure he would enjoy being that part of it. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Derrick, for having us in his amazing studios, SRP Studios here in Hernando, Mississippi. And remember, people, continue to look for opportunities to help in your community, get involved in a program, find something to, just to give back a little bit. Sometimes it's just time, it's just volunteering or just, bringing some awareness to some of the programs, spreading the word, whatever it may be. But, just continue to kind of keep following us. I know this is a long episode. Give us a click, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And hopefully this is amazing. This is something new for me, so it's going to be kind of crazy to kind of watch it back before it comes out. But remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you can watch this amazing podcast that Derrick produces for us on YouTube. Subscribe and like, all that stuff. Share it up. So until next time, thank you guys. See ya.